Somebody asked. Somebody said Morj got Uncle Ben. I couldn't say that with a straight face. Morj got Uncle Ben. Tala saying Morj getting off off screen. No, I could confirm. I did not get Uncle Ben. I did not get off screened. The side of my hair is poofy. Finally getting a haircut Thursday. Hair's getting way too poofy. You guys can't tell because I just got out of the shower, but once this dry, by the end of this stream, in 2 hours, 2.5 hours, who knows, my hair will look very poofy. It's just getting too much. Anyway, sad day for the community. No, I'm alive. Don't worry, I'm alive. Goodbye, it's been fun. Let's get the stream likes up to 100. Let's get the stream likes up to 100 because I'm not dead. I'm alive. Morj got fake out killed. He's back. This ignorant weed says this is Morj's brother. Rip. That's true. Clones are such a thing in One Piece at this point that you never know. You never know how things go. Oda using Morj for power scaling purposes. Oh man, if I was on the island, I was one of the random Marines that got eye lasered or whatever by Saturn just to show his abilities. KH says, I hear the begging to get 100 likes on stream. That means that Morj Boy has returned. That's true. If I was a clone or Morj's brother or something like that, then would I be asking for stream likes? No. Also, we got to 100 likes, so good stuff there. Sleeping Danger says, can we get a final Morj in time to remember him? This is me. This is the real me. All right. Nice haircut? No, I have not gotten a haircut yet. I will be getting a haircut Thursday. You can say nice haircut after that. Proud of y'all, chat. Y'all listened and told him he's dead. What the fuck? Who orchestrated this? Whose plan was this? Was this Talha Jahan? Who orchestrated all this? Morj's will is inherited by Parvision. Morj's next generations. Is this the water review? No. All right. I would like to focus on the stream topic, personally. But, you know, you guys get off the jokes you guys got to get off. Tala says, Morj, I got tired of waiting and told chat to spam you're dead when you arrive. That seems about right. I was like, is everyone just weirdly on the same wavelength today? But no, this was orchestrated. My demise was orchestrated. Snap, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 13 months. I have not been watching streams because I'm traveling around Japan. Congratulations, man. That's got to be a lot of fun. I have a friend, actually, who just told me that he's in Japan right now. Maybe you've even seen him. He's been staying in Japan for a month or something like that. Maybe you've seen him, but I doubt it. You need to read Kingdom or I stop paying. I'm joking, cannot break 13-month streak. Hey, if you need to stop, you need to stop. I'm sure Japan can't be cheap. Or maybe it is cheap. I don't actually know. Is Japan cost of living cheaper than other countries? Is Japan cost of living high? Let's find out. Contrary to popular belief, Japan is not too expensive to live in, assuming you're used to Western lifestyle and living standards. The average cost of living in Japan is 46% less expensive than the average cost of living in the United States? What the fuck? Okay. Alright. Well then. It's good to know. You know, I know people who moved to Japan. I know a couple people at this point who have straight up who've moved to Japan or are going to move to Japan for some period of time. I'm thinking maybe they got their mind in the right place. They got the right idea. Aether, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 7 months, man. Oh, by the way, let me just follow up Snap. Reading Kingdom, I still do have to read Kingdom. I'll tell you guys what I started watching this weekend. You guys will find it interesting as soon as I get through these other chats. Aether, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 7 months. Hidden Island 100% sold me on the fact that Bonney is a clone of Ginny. I know clone theories are everywhere, but I like this one. Oh, I gotta watch that. I think Hidden Island has some really good theories. I've only seen one, but the one that I saw was one of the best theories I've seen, so In my mind, he's got really good theories. But Bonney being a clone of Ginny versus being... I mean, I'd have to see the theory to see the evidence, right? I like the idea, but at the same time, I'm like, why then is Kuma her father? Is it because Kuma took her in and raised her after Vegapunk created her? I think Bonney should treat Vegapunk with a bit more respect in that case. If Vegapunk is the one who cloned her. Unless maybe that's why Vegapunk didn't know about that, right? Let's say she didn't know about that, and then that's why Vegapunk was like, no, I can't, you can't touch the secrets, Bonney, the secret memories or anything like that. You can't find out, yada, 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 right? So most likely keeping it super secret, trying to hide it from her because it would fuck up her mentality about her existence. I could see that as being possible. Ender Ayanami, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 13 months, man. Monthly reminder to read Fire Punch. I gotta read Kingdom. I gotta read Fire Punch. I'll be honest, if I'm reading one first, it would be Fire Punch because Fire Punch is fast. It would go by quick. Pitch for new emote is White Rabbit from Alice in Wonderland. Merch idea, the Donovan Mitchell rookie shirt, but instead it's tension and the Adidas logo is replaced with Morj's logo. I appreciate the merch ideas. The new emote stuff we do got to talk about, because I've had the new emote, like we've been able to add more emotes for a bit, but I just keep forgetting every single stream because there's just other stuff to talk about. Okay, here's the deal. If we hit a sort of a lull in this stream or another stream, then I'll bring up the emotes. That's the way we do it. But we do have to hit the stream topic. Can't just default to figuring out emotes. We'll get to emotes at some point. Michael Kerr, thanks for the 5. First comment, Kizaru getting taken out like this makes Kid taking a railgun plus Divine Departure not seem as bad. No, because Kizaru had a fight. Like, it was a back and forth. You know, they fought for a few chapters. Kid just lost the moment that Shanks did an attack, period. Those are very different things, you know? It's not even close to the same. If you want to say durability-wise, it's similar. Yeah, I guess durability-wise, it's similar. But, you know, Kizaru can do so much more than, you know, we never... I mean, losing in one hit... I mean, losing the first time you get hit, right? Let's be very clear. Losing the first time you get hit, it's not good look durability-wise because Kizaru has all these other abilities, right? He's very fast, he's got clones, he's got firepower, he's got so many things, right? So, Kid is different. Kid pulled out his best move and then literally got destroyed right away. There's nothing, like, there's no dodging, there's nothing. It's just, that's it. I don't think they're comparable at all. Keenan, thanks for being a Yonko team member for 13 months, man. Always good to see you. Is Saturn like the Bluno of the Gorosei and there are a few that are significantly stronger, or are they all around the same level? That's a great question. You know who that's a question for? You guys. I'm curious. Let's see. Is Saturn where does Saturn rank among the Gorosei? Where does Saturn rank among the Gorosei? My guess is that they're all in the same ballpark, but I don't think that they're all equal. You know, I view it same way. Not all of Doflamingo's seats were the same level. Not all of NL's priests were the same. I imagine that some are stronger than others, but I don't think it's like CP9 where you've got a huge gap where it's like, you know, Lucci is 5 times stronger than Bluno or something like that. You know, I think that they're all roughly in the same this is roughly in the same ballpark. Alright, answer this poll. This is for you guys. If I had to give my guess, I would personally guess something like, I think Saturn might be... I don't think he's the strongest. I don't think they beat the strongest one right away. I think he's probably, like, in my opinion, if I had to guess, I'd say he's second or third, personally. You guys think he's one of the weaker ones. Damn. You guys think he's, like, 4th or 5th. I don't know if he's 4th or 5th, man. I feel like if I had to give my arbitrary guesses, right? Let's say, base it off of the recent video that I did. I think Venus Juro, Zoro's opponent, is going to be stronger. And I think whoever Dragon defeats is going to be stronger. Right? Beyond that, like, let's say Sanji gets a matchup down the line. I don't think the Gorosei that Sanji defeats will be stronger than Saturn. Maybe around the same level or something. I feel like Saturn is second or third. That'd be my guess. But it's ultimately it's based on nothing. Ultimately we have no way of guessing. The only thing I can throw out is that usually if there's a mini boss that's thrown out earlier, like let's say in general, a Mr. 3, a Satori, a Blue No, who else? Who else? Cracker. These type of characters. Usually they're not one of the bottom tier members of the group. Like Mr. 3 was the third one, right? Satori was the third strongest priest, right? Virgo is actually the strongest, but he's an exception. Like that was actually Law's final opponent right there. Like Virgo was crazy strong. Virgo is probably stronger than Pika, would be my guess. Although I understand people can have different opinions on that, but that's my opinion. I just don't think Saturn's one of the weaker. I don't think he's fourth or fifth personally. I'd guess he's. I feel like what we're looking at right now is basically good representation of the Gorosei. I feel like he'd be like third. Second or third. Dom, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 13 months. In Lord vs. Chat, the jury finds you guilty of lateness. Your sentence is a Bollywood dance in a Jinbei cosplay. Okay, I agree that that's fair. That it would be a fair punishment, but I'm just not gonna do it. Also, nobody gave me credit for being basically on time last week, right? I feel like this is some recency bias because yeah, today it was pretty late, but what about last Thursday? I think last Thursday I was pretty much on time or close to on time. What about that? Huh? I feel like these two things have to balance out in some way. I feel like we should talk more about that, Does anyone want to talk about that? About how early I was last time? Would anyone in chat like to bring that up and just, maybe say like good job or something? I feel like that would be I think it would just be a good time for that. Let's get the stream likes up to 200 also. Ignorant Weed, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for a month. Kuma was always the least popular warlord in all the popularity polls. Do you think this flashback can fully change that? I definitely think so. I mean, it's understandable why Kuma would be the least popular just because we really had no read on his personality whatsoever. The 8th Jester says, of course no one gives you credit for being on time. Well, alright, I feel everyone's saying no. Alright, that's, you know what? I feel like this is, I feel like the system is rigged. Because when I'm on time, I get no credit apparently. But when I'm late, I have to do Bollywood dances. I don't know about this. I think that Kuma not showing much of his personality for a long period of time is probably what contributed to, we just didn't have a sense of who he was. Was he less popular than Moria? There's no way he was less popular than Moria. I think it's better to not show your personality and just show off cool abilities than showing your personality and looking like a chump like Moria. But yeah, I'd say it's understandable, right? This flashback is gonna give like an actual identity to Kuma, right? Because the way that Oda wrote him before, so initially he's introduced to us as a tyrant, then as we hear more from characters that know him, aka Sabo, revolutionaries, Bonney, we get the idea that Kuma was a very kind, gentle person, right? So this flashback is the first time that we're actually getting to see that side of him. I think I could imagine Kuma. Does Kuma suddenly turn into one of the most popular characters? It really depends. In One Piece, at the end of the day, a lot of the most popular characters are going to be, I think, even with just a strong backstory, that doesn't necessarily get you to the top of the popularity rankings, really. Like Law was a very popular character because he is a cool character with powerful abilities and stuff like that, and then the backstory helped. So Kuma, I think people could find him a really sympathetic character. I don't know if that's going to rocket him all the way to top 10. You know what I mean? So, but I could definitely see people's empathy for Kuma or like how people view his tragedy being like really, really high. It's kind of like people like Brook has a really sad backstory, but Brook is rarely considered one of the most popular Straw Hats, right? People need to also vibe with what you bring to the table. In terms of like people gravitate towards cooler characters in general, basically, and I don't think Kuma's necessarily that. But everyone always says like Brook's got one of the best backstories, but he's not like cracking top 10 popularity polls as far as I know. Ryochia, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 12 months. Honestly, when Morj is on time, that is when I have suspicion. That's when you think that, hey, this might not be the real Morj. Could be some imposter. That's a fair guess. You know, a crazy move. Well, nah, it's not worth explaining right now. Yeah, it's kind. Nah, I'd have to look it up. Is the thing. It's like It's a horror movie that I watched like 2 years ago that was identity theft, but it's like the craziest version of identity theft. It's hard to explain. I'd have to do some digging to figure out what the name was. Where we at? Okay. Goomba Boomba says, bit far-fetched, but I think Kuma will show up in God Valley. That's not happening, man. Come on now. Tala, thanks for the 2. Sanji won't fight an elder equals he won't fight a commander. Are you saying right now or like towards the end of the story? Because let's be honest, it was looking rough for... Heading into the finale of Wano, right? Onigashima battle. It was looking rough for Sanji. With Sanji's existing skill set, like Zoro was getting Enma and stuff, you could tell that Zoro's being built up for some improvements. Heading into the Onigashima battle, it was looking rough for Sanji, man. It was like he wasn't. There was just no improvement that he had since the time skip. Since we came back from post time skip, he'd had no improvement. So people were scaling him to be basically like significantly weaker than Doflamingo, which was accurate at that point in time. So it was kind of just like, how's he gonna? The only thing that really, it was like faith, right? It was just faith in the past history of One Piece, looking back like 600 chapters back to Enies Lobby and Alabasta and the old days. It was just like, no, come on. We know that at some point Sanji's supposed to get his rightful dues fighting, no, the movie's not Us. It's not Us. It might be an A24 movie, which is going to make it even harder to find. It was, no, okay, I'll find it in a second. But, it was just like, everyone had to have faith that, like, look, this is how Oda used to write Sanji. He should fight a commander. Doesn't even make sense how he's going to beat this commander, but he should be fighting Queen in this arc. That's what most people were saying, right? It didn't make sense strength-wise for Sanji to be able to do that, but then Sanji got the power-up, so it's all good. He was able to do it. So, we're at that point in the story again where you kind of just got to believe that Sanji will get a power-up to be able to fight. If he fights a Gorosei at the end of the story, I could definitely see that happening. I'm not going to put all my chips on it, but I feel like that should happen. Participating in the fight against Saturn now, that would also be pretty good. Snap, thanks a lot. Japan is nothing. Used to Norway. Your friend was okay. Are you saying price-wise? Yeah. Party McFly, thanks for the 5. At work, so can't watch live, but looking forward to listening on the commute home. Do you think we get a bounty increase after Egghead? Bounty increase after Egghead. Here's the tricky thing. I feel like they should get a bounty increase after Egghead. But I feel like the next bounty increase they get could be the last one. I just don't know how much room there is for more bounty increases right now, right? So if the next bounty increase they get is the last one, like let's say, in my opinion, Luffy's final bounty would be 5.6 billion berry. It fits the classic number that is associated with Luffy, which is 5.6, and it would be slightly higher than Roger's bounty. So I don't think Luffy would surpass Roger's bounty so quick yet. So you know what? Maybe I'm making the wrong assumption there. Yeah, maybe they do get a bit of a bounty bump after Egghead, but nothing crazy. And then final bounty bump after Luffy beats Blackbeard or something like that. And then once they defeat Emu and the world government, they wouldn't even have a bounty anymore, right? The whole system's changed. Hawkbach, thanks a lot. Morj, can you wink and give us a kiss? Melting right now, bro. I'm just not gonna do that. Kino the Far, thanks for the 5. No bad news today, I think. How will Dragon... No bad news today, I think. Oh, congratulations! Kino usually tunes in with some terrible news. How will Dragon be involved? Was he a Marine with Garp who freed the slaves, or was he a slave freed by Marines in Garp? That is something that we're going to be talking about today. Dragon's role in this is going to be it's going to be pretty important, right? The God Valley incident. Well, no, we can't even assume that, right? Dragon's role could be important. It could be important, because we see Dragon's friends here. We see his friends, we see his little friends, right? And his dad's going to show up there. And the biggest revolutionary incident in God knows how many centuries is about to happen here as well. So I have some thoughts on what could be Dragon's story right here. But I think we're going to wait a little bit. Let's get to the discussion, the actual topic part of it. I need to break out the Microsoft Paint and stuff like that before we start listing. If I were to guess right now how Dragon were to be involved, okay, I have a few options. I kind of want to break out. You know what? Who cares? I'll just start talking about it right now. All right. The options that I'm thinking of are A, Dragon shows up as a Marine, right? And I like the idea personally that Dragon does not come in as like a freedom-loving Marine, rebellious little Marine soldier or whatever. I like the idea that he doesn't know shit about how bad the world government is, and showing up at this island, maybe running into Kuma and Ivankov, is what opens up his eyes to understand this is what the Celestial Dragons are actually doing. And from there, he decides he doesn't want to be a Marine. I like that idea quite a bit. Flip side, the Dragon was a slave that gets adopted by Garp. That's interesting, but then it's just like, in that case, isn't Luffy not directly blood related to Garp? And Luffy and Garp have like a lot of physical similarities. Now, I myself in the in the old, like, in the way old back, like, video about Luffy potentially egg lineage, etc. I was like, well, he doesn't technically need to be blood related to Garp or anything like that. But at the same time, it's kind of just like, because we've had past things like Luffy looking like Ace, Luffy and Ace having the same mannerisms, and then Luffy not being Ace's blood relative. Oda's done shit like that, but this feels a little different. I don't know. Just Garp be like, is Dragon a D then? Who's Dragon's actual? Then it's just it opens up a whole new thing where it's like, okay, then who's Luffy's actual grandfather? I mean, does it matter? Who's Dragon's father? Garp adopted a lot of fucking children at that point. He must have been pissed when Roger asked him to adopt more kids, because Garp's already working overtime. Kino the Far, thanks for the 5. I wonder if Mihawk will appear in God Valley. He was depicted as having a hard childhood. Maybe he's a native of God Valley. He'd be around 7 or 8. I don't know how I feel about like just everybody being at God Valley, like all the important characters originating from God Valley at this point, because it kind of makes the One Piece world feel a little bit smaller to me. In that, I like the idea that strong characters like a Mihawk or whoever can pop up from different locations in the world, rather than everyone happening to have been at God Valley. But at the same time, I wouldn't say no to Mihawk showing up in the flashback just because it would be cool to see Mihawk. I'm trying to, on the side, okay, let me see. Let me answer a question at the same time. Yonko Commander says Tokyo. Thanks for the info, Yonko Commander. He says Tokyo built many houses in the past, making it one of the only big cities in the world that solved the housing crisis. Interesting. And doesn't it also have, as far as I know, declining population, which would mean that, you know, demand decreasing with relation to supply? Zebrahim, thanks for the 5. Do you think we get another Straw Hat? And if so, is it someone established like Vivi or Yamato, or a brand new character? Let me throw out a poll for you guys real quick. How are we feeling about Bonney right now? Is Bonney eventually going to be a Straw Hat? Yes. No. Should I give you guys a maybe? I feel like you guys should have to be decisive about this. I'll give you guys a maybe. No, but if I give you guys a maybe, I'm canceling the poll. No, a maybe's, that's a cop-out. Is Bonney going to become a Straw Hat eventually? Yes, no. If you were to ask me between Yamato and Vivi, I think that there's a chance now that Yamato becomes a Straw Hat, more than before. Because now Yamato's going through a character arc. You know, like she's got to actually learn some shit and have a story. People are leaning towards no for Bonney. Vivi's already a Straw Hat, so I'm like, she's a Straw Hat, she's just an honorary Straw Hat. If you're asking, is she going to join the crew and sail around with them? I think she might for a bit. Maybe for a little bit. I like the idea that Vivi somehow gets her hands on Kuma's fruit, so that would require her to at least reunite with the crew for a little bit. But I think ultimately Vivi's role and purpose has to take her away from the crew. I think it has to be more involved with the various heads of countries and such, and I think ending up being a political force in the post-Dawn world of One Piece, which means that I think she can't be too affiliated with pirates. So I think she's got to be a secret member in some ways. Oh, let's get the stream likes up to 300 real quick. All right, so people are leaning no towards no for Bonney, but it's tight. 60-40. It's interesting. I just don't know with Bonney right now. Like, I can't even tell okay, here's a thought, right? Let me give you another question. Here's another question, all right? Is Bonney a child? Yes. No. Because we brought this up before, and pretty much everyone was like, I think at the time we were against it. But the phrasing has kind of continued of her being referred to as a child. Okay, everyone's leaning towards, no, it's complicated. Okay, people are mostly leaning. Here's the only thought I've got, right? People with Bonney, they're like, what would be her role in the crew? What would be her role in the crew? If she's a child, she would technically be the cabin girl of the crew, right? Cabin boy, cabin girl role. So there is actually secretly a role that Bonney could fill if Bonney is a kid. But we're going to hope that Bonnie's not a child for various reasons. Most importantly being that it would, I think, make Oda look pretty damn bad if that is the case. Okay, so we're split on this too. Is Bonney a kid? That's also 60-40. So with that in mind, 60-40, like 60-40 on is Bonney going to join the crew or not, 60% saying no, but then also 60-40 on is Bonney a child or not, so 60% saying no. That's interesting to me, because that means that there's a solid probably overlap of some people who think she is a kid and she is going to join the crew. In that case, yeah, maybe maybe she's cabin girl. I'm just not thinking about whether or not, like, you know, on both topics right now, I'm just not trying to predict either way. Is she going to join the crew? Is she a kid? We'll just find out these answers as is. Right now, I guess if I had to go with my basic assumption, I'm just neutral on whether she joins the crew or not. I'm open to it. I did a video a while back saying that she's probably going to join. Then some stuff happened that made me think that maybe she doesn't join. Now some stuff's happening that makes me think she will join. So I'm basically just saying neutral. We'll see how it plays out. The kid thing I'm basically just ignoring. But it is ramping up more and more in terms of discussion. So we kind of got to just acknowledge that. Just catching up here. Anime Kingdom MDM, thanks for the 5. I think Fisher Tiger will show up at God Valley, but as a slave, since we do know he was once a slave, and it would be interesting if he escaped here, to be honest. Shit, yeah, wait, that is a great point. Hold on, that is a great point. That's a fantastic point. That's very likely, right? Because we don't know. Quick, can anybody tell me, do we know when Fisher Tiger escaped? We don't know when he escaped, right? We just know the point that he climbed back up and freed the slaves, but we don't know when he escaped. So if we don't know when he escaped, I don't know, that's pretty interesting. Like, that seems like that could be a God Valley type thing to me. I'm going to put that down as the first thing. Thanks, Anime, what is it, Anime Kingdom MDM? Yeah, let's pull out the Microsoft Paint. Andre Salmonte says, bruh, why does Morj get a maybe option? Because... That's a good point. Because, well, for me, I just want to know what my honest opinion... Like, I just want you all to know what my general opinions are. For you guys, I want to know, gun to your head, what do you have to pick? What would you pick if you had to pick? You know, these are two different scenarios. We're asking two different things. Like, I'm just feeling the temperature if you guys had to pick. And for me, I'm just giving my general feeling right now, right? If you gave me that question, like, Morj, gun to your head, you gotta pick between, like, is Bonney joining the crew or not? I would say, if I had to, like, let's say I had to bet all my money in the world right now, is Bonney joining? I have to bet all my money in the world right now. I would say, fuck, if I actually had to bet all the money I have in the world right now on whether Bonney joins the crew or not, this is fucking difficult. If I had to. Yes, no. I'm not answering. I don't have to. I don't have to play this game. I don't have to. I just remembered I don't have to. All right. Here we go. Yeah, I hope that answered your question, man. And Knut Worgen, thanks for the 5. Frankie greater than Sanji. Sanji got one tapped by Saturn. Frankie speed blitzed Saturn and ran over Yonko. Dude, yeah, Frankie has better showings than Kid and Law. Let's not forget that either. Mr. Crescent, thanks for the 10. I've enjoyed parts of Luffy versus Kizaru, but overall it feels like Oda is sacrificing an interesting fight just to make it about gags, and it feels a bit repetitive. I still have hope for it in the future. Luffy versus Kizaru, my thoughts are like Luffy versus Lucci. I don't think anybody cared because we all knew that Luffy's just fucking around because he can, because he's that much above Lucci. Luffy versus Kizaru, it starts with Luffy acknowledging Kizaru is a really big threat, a strong person. Luffy even says, like, oh, I nearly died over the course. It's just trickier because this fight actually has, like, supposed stakes, and he's trying to protect the crew and trying to protect Vegapunk, but he's also fucking around with Gear 5th. And I think the kicker for me that I've harped on it so many times, I'm not going to harp on it again, but the kicker for me was just, like, he waited till his ability was about to run out before using Advanced Conqueror's Haki, instead of just using it when he had grabbed Kizaru right up. Like, the fight was over. If you really want to be fair, right? The fight was over the moment Luffy grabbed Kizaru, and then there were two options. Oda could either A, have Luffy use Advanced Conqueror's Haki right there, and just have Luffy one-shot Kizaru, a literal one-shot, like the fight's over the moment Luffy uses Gear 5th, or B, Luffy throws Kizaru away, and then cue a series of, gag-based combat. Here's the thing. A series of jokes, cartoonish gag-based combat. Here's the thing. I enjoyed Luffy versus Kizaru. The previous chapter, the chapter before, the chapter that was the one where Kizaru created the clones, where Luffy kicked through the clones, where Luffy swallowed Kizaru's light, and, became like a light show and stuff like that. I thought that whole chapter was cool. I liked the fight in that. What soured it for me was then the very next chapter when it's revealed that Luffy could have just ended the whole thing right off the bat, but instead Oda chose to have Luffy use Advanced Conqueror's Haki only right at the end when Luffy's running out of his ability anyway. That soured the whole thing for me because then it's like, this isn't the same as Luffy versus Lucci, because this is like, there's actual stakes, there's actual consequences if Luffy doesn't win. And now we're in the situation where the actual consequences are there, and the crew's basically fucked because Oda just had Luffy act stupidly for no reason whatsoever instead of just ending the fight right away. And I'm tired of people saying, oh, Luffy just wanted to have fun with Gear 5th, that's why he didn't win the fight right away. Because that's not true, because Luffy went Snake Man first. Luffy's goal was to win the fight. It's just that Oda chose to have him also simultaneously not decide to win the fight the moment that Luffy had Kizaru right where he had him, literally in the palm of his hand, and could have just squeezed with Advanced Conqueror's Haki or some shit, or flicked him in the head with Advanced Conqueror's Haki or some shit, or done whatever the fuck he wanted to, right? So that's when it's just, like, messy to me. So it's complicated because I enjoyed the fight before it was revealed that, yeah, Luffy could have just ended it right away. That's it. Let's get the stream likes up to 300 real quick. And let me pull up the Microsoft Paint at the same time. Oh, wait, I was also finding that horror movie. Randall Hall, thanks for the 5. Great content as always, buddy. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. JWP says, happy B-Day, Morj, man. It is not my birthday, but thank you. I appreciate it. Rodolfo, MVP from last stream. What do you think of the idea that the Celestial Dragon Hunt leads to the death of hundreds of children, and this is where the Revolutionary Army idea sprouted? I talk about that in tomorrow's video. I don't know if it leads to the death of hundreds of children, but I think that, it depends on how, Oda gets more graphic in flashbacks, but, showing a bunch of kids dying or being murdered by celestial dragons or by rocks fallout or whatever, I don't know, it depends how graphic Oda decides to go with this, but I do think that the seeds of the Revolutionary Army are planted here, based on whatever happen, however things play out. So I don't know the specifics of what will happen, but I do think that that's the final result. Rodolfo, thanks for the 5. And Kuma causes so much pain that it leads to reason that he chooses to lose himself and remove his memories to forget this tragic event. Oh, you think Kuma, chose to remove his memories right after the event? That'd be crazy. I assume that was an adult decision that he did before he had his mind wiped, but that'd be interesting if he did it all the way back then. Mr. NK, I said it right this time. I think Bonney will just be this island's supernova tag-along like Beige in Whole Cake Island. Yeah, I could definitely see that, but the thing is that, Bonney's already got a lot more character focus, and the emotions of her character conflict are much more important than Beige's, so I'd say it's more closer to Law. It's just the arc is shorter, so, it depends how you weigh those two things, and Law never joined the crew, so it's two different things, right? Whether this means that Bonney is being written to be a Strahd crew member or not. Ray Del Ninja, thanks for the 5. If Vivi does join back up, do you think she'll be in the weakling trio, or will she be in the mid tiers with Brooke, Robin, and Frankie? Vivi has, as far as I can tell, no battle skill. Like even in Alabasta, right, where she had a head start over the rest of the crew because she was all like the weaklings of the crew, right? She was starting Alabasta as a Baroque Works ranked agent, like numbered agent. By the end of Alabasta, Nami's clearly ahead of her. Usopp's clearly ahead of her, right? So even at the time that she was in the story, an active pirate and everything like that, an active member of Baroque Works, she was weaker than even the weakest members of the crew. I would be very surprised if right now she's able to keep up whatsoever. Like, these guys trained for 2 straight years in some of the harshest environments and best trainers in the world, so I would be surprised if Vivi's anywhere close. Goku, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 1 month. Morj, do you think Imu used eugenics during the Void Century to make every girl in the One Piece world have big bazongas? Well, I think that's not unlikely, because we know that Imu, from the way that he's talked about Lily, seems like a horny fuck, so I wouldn't be surprised. Also, Kuma eats his fruit soon. Yeah, I could definitely see Kuma eating his fruit soon, because we see those treasure chests and everything like that. We know the Celestial Dragons already like to force feed fruits to slaves, but in this case it seems like the fruits are rewards, so it's hard to say. We've never seen Celestial Dragons outside of the Gorosei really having devil fruits, so but maybe that's just because they're only won by the strong fighters. But Celestial Dragons also have access to fruits because they can feed them to slaves, so it's weird. Maybe the strong fruits they keep for themselves, but they give Hancock a very strong fruit. It's hard to say. I do think that Kuma could eat the fruit here. Saus, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 2 months. When was the last time you were high, Morj? Okay, so full disclosure, I've stopped smoking weed and I started using Delta 8. So the last time I was high was like a social setting. I don't remember how long back that was. Yeah, I just started using Delta 8. I think Delta 8's better. No, it's not better for getting high, but it's better for just if you just want to relax yourself, I think. Like before you're gonna go to sleep or something. I think just a basic relax yourself thing. I think Delta 8's pretty solid, because for me, I realized that if I smoke before I go to sleep, like if I smoke weed before I go to sleep, then that fucks with my sleep. Once I switched to Delta 8, that was great, because that was like the only times I would ever smoke by myself, like not in a social setting, would be like before going to sleep, basically, just to sleep. Like it helps you go to sleep, but then it fucks with your sleep afterwards, I guess. And I realized Delta 8 doesn't do that. So now if I smoke, it's Delta 8. So that's basically it. Again, outside of social settings. Catching up. Oh yeah, so 1 second. Yeah, we got the Fisher Tiger thing. I'm gonna make sure to put that down once we get the Microsoft Paint open and everything like that. I have it open. I just want to get through these, and we'll get over to that. Kino the Far, thanks for the 5. Regarding Saturn fight, what if Jinbei is actually Devon and that's why he's doing nothing? It's not because he's fat and lazy, but because she can't karate. Okay, can we stop referring to Jinbei as fat? I feel like now we're... It was funny once when it was brought up last stream with the specific quote, I think, being like, Jinbei's fat ass is just running around doing nothing. But we're going to stop it now, all right? So, I do think that's a possibility that Jinbei is doing nothing because Devon can't do karate. I do want to do we're going to save this for a separate stream, but I do want to do like a full mystery breakdown of all the characters in Egghead Island right now that could be Devon, and we're going to solve the case. We're going to solve it as a team. All right, we're going to solve it as a team. So I like the Jinbei idea, but we're going to solve it as a team on stream. And then we're just going to be the first people in the community to figure out who Katarina Devon is. Abdurrahman Amari. We'll do it over the course of the God Valley flashback on a week where there's not much to talk about. Abdurrahman Amari, thanks for the 20. How Luffy will beat Saturn, because Luffy must kill Saturn to win, and it's out of character. I wouldn't be surprised if Luffy beats Saturn, but somebody else kills him. For me, Blackbeard will kill Gorosei, something related to his devil fruit, Yami Yami fruit that counter the immortality of Gorosei and Imu. Hey, if you think that Blackbeard swoops in and kills Saturn after Luffy's defeated him, I could totally see that. I would agree that Luffy's not killing Saturn, right? We don't even know if Luffy killed Kaido, and Kaido's one of the few characters that we thought Luffy would have to kill. Tom, thanks for the 2. Just got out of the ER. Wasn't testicular torsion. Congratulations, man. That's huge. Good. Congrats. Seriously. It could have been bad. Grizzly Adams, thanks for the 5. Potential roles for Bonney aren't that important because so many people thought Yamato would join and she has no proper role. Logkeeper was dumb. Hey, I thought Logkeeper was dumb too, but that doesn't mean that the roles aren't important, right? Because Yamato didn't join, which means that, like, yeah, Oda didn't just include somebody in the crew who had no role, which means that we can still use that as an argument against Bonney because to date, Oda has never, like, just because people thought it turned out to be wrong, right? So it means that to date, Oda has not broken the pattern of always having a Straw Hat have a role when they join the crew. Titanium Dragon, thanks for the 2. How do you think Kaido nearly dies on God Valley? Kaido nearly dies on God... I don't think he nearly dies on God Valley. Is that established? I don't think he nearly dies on God Valley. Unless you think that's one of his, like, 7 defeats or whatever. Lol, thanks for the 2. She's Kuma's great-grandma. Bonney? Who? Dr. Farewell, thanks for the 5. Buccaneers may... Wait a second. Who did Bonney pretend to be again? In that one chapter? It was like chapter 1000 or 908, maybe? Who did Bonney pretend to be? She pretended to be... The name... I'm confused now. Alright, let's take a look at this. Alright. Okay, so, facts that we know. Alright? Facts that we know. Do we even know any facts? I'm so confused. We know that okay. Okay, let's talk, chat. We know that Kuma was king of Sorbet Kingdom for a little bit, right? 02657, thank you very much. We've got some thanks to hand out. I'll speak on your guys' behalf, but you guys have to say thank you as well. Reda Grid, Peter Falk, Mithilish Seth, AJP, Coinzelt Asherit, that's an interesting name, Dunk716, Blackbird, Nikhil Gandir, and K Maya. Everybody say thank you to 02657. Always appreciated, man, as usual. Yeah, say thanks for the gifted subs, gifted memberships, etc. Let's see if we can figure this out real quick, by the way. So Kuma was king. Kuma was king of the Sorbet Kingdom, right? Starts off as slave. Starts off as just a dude in the Sorbet Kingdom, right? Random buccaneer family, Sorbet Kingdom. Gets captured. Goes to Marijua, slave, freed at God Valley. Returns to Sorbet Kingdom. He's able to become a king there somehow. How's he able to become a king? Does the world government do they not keep track of the fact that he was a slave? They probably don't know that he was a slave. I don't know if they know that he was a slave. Queen Dowager, right? What? Queen Dowager, that's the mom of the bride or something like that, right? No, Queen Dowager or Dowager Queen is a title or status held by the widow of a king. Former queen consort whose husband died. So was this... Like, hold on. So there's Ginny. These are the pieces we're trying to keep together, right? Kuma returns to Sorbet Kingdom. Connie, Ginny, Bonney. 3 separate characters. What's going on here? Any ideas? People think Bonnie's a clone? Do you guys think Bonnie's a clone of this woman? Where was it mentioned that Kuma is a king? Kuma being a king. Former king of Sorbet Kingdom. Right? Former king of Sorbet Kingdom. And I think it's confirmed that he's a king. He was a king of an allied nation. They used Kuma as an example. So he went from civilian to slave to king Mr. NK, thanks for upgrading to Yonko tier. Check out the podcast that came out last Friday. Look forward to the podcast that's coming out this Friday. Yeah. Can you guys make sense of this? What the hell's going on with this Connie, Bonney, Ginny stuff? Kuma was a king. Queen Dowager means that she was married to a king who's dead, but she seems way too old to have been married to Kuma. So could she have been married to the previous king? They're all Bonney. I'm a clone. Connie is Ginny. Alright, we're going to leave this alone for a moment. Hard confirmed Bonnie's... We're going to leave this alone for a moment. Let's get back to this shit. Okay, we cover this. Doctor of Farewell, thanks for the 5. Buccaneers made the Golden Pirate era IRL. Was their crime against the world government creating Nika through their fate and dreams, thus creating the first pirate? So you're saying Buccaneers were the first great pirate era. You think Buccaneers are the ones who created the concept of Nika? That's interesting, but I think at the same time there's other cultures that also did it, right? Like, Shandians believed in the sun god. Giants believe in the sun god. I wonder if... But the Buccaneers are the first one, it seems like, that are explicitly talking about Nika, right? The other ones just reference a sun god in general. So that is a really good possibility, that the Buccaneers are the first ones that put a name and concept to the general... Because you know the way religions work across cultures, there's lots of similarities, and lots of religions can play with the same concept, and then some add more details, and then some add specific names and stuff like that. So I wonder if the concept of sun god is just something that was kind of mixed around under various religions, and then the Buccaneers were the first ones to have the concept of Nika, the sun god, who, you know, was this warrior of liberation. That is a really interesting idea. I really, really like that. I don't know if they created the first pirate, but that might just be an idea that Oda's drawing upon to name that original race that came up with the idea of Nika. Watt 57. So Bonney is Kuma's wife, mother, and daughter combined. That is. I'm not gonna touch that. Neil Smith says, "Isn't base Luffy too slow to catch Kizaru?" Yeah, I'm sure base Luffy is probably too slow to catch Kizaru, but look, it's not about base Luffy, right? Why didn't the fight end? What chapter are we on? So the fight is over here, right? It's just over. Because Luffy's caught Kizaru. Kizaru cannot escape because Logias cannot escape from this, right? Luffy has caught Kizaru's physical body, right? So Kizaru cannot escape. The fight is officially over. Like, it's over. Because now we know that all Luffy has to do right here is flick Kizaru in the head once with Advanced Conqueror's Haki. Then it's done. That's it. This is the fight. It ended right away. I'm annoyed at people saying, "Oh, Luffy couldn't catch Kizaru till that white star gun attack. He couldn't catch Kizaru." It's like, motherfucker, how fucking short term? Like, are you all fucking goldfish? What the fuck are you talking about? This is the first thing Luffy fucking did in Gear 5th. This is move number 1. The fight's over, right? So the moment Luffy chooses not to use Advanced Conqueror's Haki here, because it would in fact be a one-shot the moment he decides to use it, instead we do this. And cue 10 minutes of Luffy wasting time, running out of stamina, and screwing his entire crew over, to only finally use Advanced Conqueror's Haki at the last possible moment. Like he's like a fucking high school student remembering he's got to turn in, he's got to do his essay like the night before or some shit, or he fails. Right? That's basically what we're looking at. And then he squeezes in one attack against Kizaru, and luckily is able to put him down at the same time as he goes down, but the whole thing could have been avoided if Luffy just defeats Kizaru right here. Fight's over right here. Luffy can, you know, recharge his energy or whatever. His crew is safe. It's all good. But instead we get the extremely, extremely contrived battle that should never have happened, leading to the high-tension situation that should never have happened, right? Again, I can really like the situation that we're in right now with Saturn, but really dislike the manner in which Oda had us get here. Julian Garcia says, "Can you really grab Kizaru light?" Yes, you can, because if you go back and read chapter 597, where really explains the concept of how Logias work. Right here, Luffy has grabbed Kizaru's actual body. Once you grab a Logia like this, they cannot physically escape. It's the same way that Luffy grabbed Caesar in their first encounter, and Caesar is gas. You technically can't catch gas, but once you're using Haki, the point is, if you've grabbed their full body, they cannot escape. Kizaru, at this moment in time, cannot turn into light and get away. And, like, even if you think that he can, all Luffy has to do is fucking apply Advanced Conqueror's Haki here and squeeze, and Kizaru would lose, right? All Luffy, Luffy has time to do everything. It's time to spin him around and throw him, etc. Luffy can just flick him in the head. It's over. This is it. This is it. The fight's over. It was never supposed to be that close. Yonko Commander says, does Luffy already going Gear 5 earlier justify anything? I don't know what that means. Like against Lucci? I don't know. Sleeping Danger, thanks. Paw Fruit Vivi is above Weakling Trio. Oh, you're saying if she gets the Paw Fruit? Yeah, sure. If she gets the Paw Fruit, then that's probably pretty nuts. Ignorant Weed, thanks for the 5. I think God Valley will be some type of birdcage. It could be a preview for the final war. I also hear a lot of guys think there will be many fruits for taking. Yeah, we could see a lot of characters eating their fruits for the first time. Kaido, for example. God Valley being like the birdcage. I mean, I think that God Valley is going to showcase Uranus at the very least. 02657, thanks for the 2. Crocomon will definitely make an appearance. Crocodile God Valley would be cool, but I don't know if we have enough to suggest that Crocodile will definitely be there. I think it's definitely a possibility. Terra says Haki doesn't cancel Devil Fruit's man, it's Blackbeard's fruit. I'm not saying it's canceling his fruit. I'm saying the explicit explanation of Haki is it allows you to capture the user's physical body, right? So right there, Luffy has grabbed Kizaru's physical body. Even the fluid bodies of the near invisible Logia fruit users can be forced into solidity. Rodolfo, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 8 months. Could Joyboy have been a buccaneer, and thus why in their tribe the legend is more fleshed out than other cultures? That's interesting. I like that, because that would explain why the hat's so big, right? That would definitely explain why the hat's so big. Asylum says, I think you're missing the entire point, Morj. You see, as One Piece fans, we can't have any kind of mistakes happening. It's impossible. Yeah, I guess so. Mr. Crescent says, yes, but Luffy is fucking stupid. That's not... That's not an excuse for everything. That's not an excuse for everything. That's like saying, oh, if Luffy... Like that... Because by that logic, right, we've... How do I say this? Okay, if Luffy rolls up on I don't know, Blackbeard, final battle of the series or something, and they're staring each other down, and then Luffy takes out, like, a big sea stone rock, and then just swallows it, and chokes, and fucking dies. Would you guys be like, oh, that makes sense? Luffy's stupid. No, because we understand that there are limits to Luffy's stupidity, and the context in which Luffy's stupidity has always been shown have been generally, you know, light gag-based things that don't actually change the outcome of battles or, like, the flow of situations too much, right? Like Luffy thinking Foxy is somebody else once Foxy puts on a mask or something like that, right? Luffy, when it comes to, like, if anything, when it comes down to very serious situations against serious opponents, like high-level opponents, when his crew is in danger or when there's high stakes, Vegapunk's lives are in danger, etc., people he's trying to protect, Luffy's not stupid. Luffy's actually very smart and tends to know exactly what the fuck he's supposed to do. In fact, go back and reread the like, it's actually the total fucking opposite. Like, let's take a look here. So if we go back to Luffy versus Lucci, right? If we go back to Luffy versus Lucci. Lucci's saying, if you want to save them, go ahead and do so. I will not, like, you must be worried about them. If you want to save them, go ahead and do so. I will not take my eyes off of you. No matter what they're going through right now, they will surely survive. But if I let you get away here, you will go kill my Nakama. I will not take my eyes off of you. You're really cut out to be the boss. I want a certain idiot to hear that. Like, stop this Luffy's stupid, therefore any stupid writing goes narrative, because that contradicts so much of what we've seen about the character throughout the story. He's not stupid in moments that count, right? He's not fighting Kaido and then all of a sudden he's like, I don't know, like, I'm trying to even think of, like, a comparable example. Like, he's not fighting Kaido and then suddenly, like, shutting his eyes and being like, oh, I'm going to try and fight you with my eyes closed for the entire battle for no reason, right? He doesn't do stupid things that sabotage himself for the rest of the fight for no reason. That just doesn't happen, period. That's totally different. Like, you can't just justify every dumb thing Luffy does as not being bad writing when it contradicts prior things that we've seen of Luffy that shows that, no, he is aware of consequences to certain actions, right? Same thing like if Luffy just ate a chunk of sea stone in the middle of a fight for no reason, you would say that's stupid. Why is it stupid? Because Luffy knows that sea stone is going to hurt him. Same way Luffy knows that Gear 5th is going to drain his stamina. He's well aware of that. That's an established fact in the story. He knows that Gear 5th is going to drain his stamina. He knows that Gear 5th pushes his body a lot, right? There's no excuse to say that, oh, Luffy's just using Gear 5th and not Advanced Conqueror's Haki because Luffy's stupid, because that contradicts what we already know what Luffy knows. You get what I'm saying? Yeah, JWP says, it's mentioned multiple times in the story that Luffy is actually really smart in terms of battle IQ, like multiple character quotes. The stupid Luffy logic is so annoying. Yeah, because you can't just say that, because then once you say that, it's basically saying that, okay, nothing this character ever does can ever be considered bad writing or like stupid writing or a plot hole, because you have the excuse that, well, he's not the sharpest tool in the shed. It's like, yeah, but he's not a fucking, like, he's not like a fucking, what do you call, amnesiac, you know? He retains information at a certain point. He's aware when certain things are bad for him or certain things are good for him, and especially in situations where there are stakes and consequences to people that he cares about, Luffy is actually very sharp. Tom, thanks for being a Yonko team member for 13 months. I think the summoning circle could be a devil fruit ability. I imagine a sugar-esque character who's weak, but has an integral devil fruit. Also, it was a kidney stone. Damn, man. Sorry. Sugar-esque... Oh, I see what you're saying. A sugar-esque character who's weak, but has an integral fruit. But, so you think somebody else is summoning with the summoning circle? Like, devil fruit ability? I don't understand. Or are you saying Saturn is weak, but... I'm just going to assume that you're saying that the summoning circle is like a trigger devil fruit ability by somebody else. Wakiki saying 1 Straw Hat participating in 2% of the journey feels bad. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it seems like the final saga is going to be really long, so it won't exactly feel like 2% of the journey once all is said and done. Maybe closer to like 10% or 15%. Kid Rob's Cove, thanks for the 5. What do you think about this theory? Aokiji took Garp to a remote ice island. His new goal is uncover truth of their reality. Garp tells him and is the rest of God Valley. Oh, you think the flashback's broken up into 2 things? I mean, I don't think Aokiji would separate Garp from the rest of the Blackbeard pirates, because that would basically get Aokiji in a bunch of trouble. But I could see Garp explaining it to Blackbeard. I hope that we get to see the full God Valley incident here, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's split up. Scrump, thanks for the 5. The world government would force feed slaves devil fruits to increase the challenge of their hunts. Oh, that's a cool idea. Explain why they would give Boa such a powerful fruit. That would help a lot. That would make a lot of sense. I just always assumed that they fed them devil fruits just because they were bored and they themselves don't need devil fruits because they don't need anything in the world, right? They got everything they want. Callan Bellamy says, do you think Smoker and Tashiki will join the Grand Fleet? Seems them becoming Straw Hats as sales, but Grand Fleet could be an option. I definitely think that I feel like them joining the Grand... I just feel like they've got a more important role to play than Grand Fleet. Because, like, you know, Grand Fleet, it's basically like they're the same level of importance as, like, Sai or Leo. Whereas Smoker and Tashigi have been very significant characters throughout the entire story. So I feel like there's something more to them than just Grand Fleet. But I agree that, you know, at this point it's hard to say... say where exactly to go. Edgardo Andres Lopez Sanch. I can't even see the end of your title, but it's a cool name. In my opinion, regarding Luffy's fighting with Advanced Conqueror's Haki, it's like seeing a Mike Tyson fight where he knocks out his opponent with a savage right hook and saying, well, why didn't he just use that from the beginning? No, because this is not... Real life is not anime. Okay, real life is not anime. And if you wanted to compare to, let's say, the... Real life is not anime. People don't have, like, anime attacks, right? Mike Tyson's trying... He needs to set up to get into a position where he can actually connect with the right hook, right? If you really want to go with that analogy, then Luffy was factually set up to connect with that right... Like, you could not be in a more... in a better position than right here, where he has Kizaru literally helpless right now. Literally helpless, right? It would be like if Mike Tyson's opponent was literally on the ropes, arms down, can't do anything, and Mike Tyson didn't finish him off with a right hook, right? That would be the situation right here. Titanium Dragon, like, can anybody okay, I challenge you guys. Somebody explain to me why Luffy cannot just finish off Kizaru with Advanced Conqueror's Haki right here. Why can he not use the same, like, why can't he win right here? What's the difference? What am I missing? And let's get the stream likes up to $400. I said it in dollars, guys. I saw someone say you sent $100 to say that. Let's get it up to 400. How come, like, what is this? Can somebody explain this? Because he's goofy. Plot. I don't know. Big Mom gives Titanium Dragon says Big Mom gives Kaido dragon fruit after he nearly dies. After he nearly dies. Is it after he nearly dies? I don't know if it's after he nearly dies. I might be misremembering something. Peter Falk, thanks for the 5. Do you really think that Buccaneers were the third race Big Mom was alluding to? I think so. If Kuma was the last one, why would she mention it? I thought it was Oni. I'm just confused why Buccaneers are a race, but it's like, so Kuma was the last one. Was Whitebeard one? What are all these other big characters in One Piece? I just don't get why this is a specific race. I thought it was Oni is the last race. I don't know. I think Oni's might be, maybe she has an Oni in her crew or something like that. Because we know Oni is a race because Kaido told Yamato that, you know, you're an Oni, so you won't be accepted. Sunput Sakesh Revolpathy, thanks a lot. Didn't Who's Who say fishermen slaves prayed to Nika? Did he say that? Can someone tell me what chapter Who's Who explained? Let's get the stream likes up to 400 real quick. What chapter did Who's Who say? Did Who's Who comment that? Yeah, Big Mom didn't have an Oni as far as we saw. So Big Mom says she doesn't have 3, right? She said, so I think she might not have been counting giants. She wasn't counting giants as far as I remember. Like, because she just didn't want them in her crew. So Buccaneers, Lunarians, Onis. Is that right? How about that? Is it Buccaneers, Lunarians, Onis? Viz translated Buccaneers as a clan, so not sure if they're a race or not. Anyone know the Who's Who's chapter off the top of their head? Nobody? Nobody? Kino the Far, thanks for the 5. What if, instead of Timer, the big drawback of Gear 5th is that he can't take fights seriously? What if he fucks around too much with Saturn and finds out? I mean, that would be an interesting drawback, but then my question is kind of like, where do you even draw the, like, it would explain, like, you know, why he fucked around with Lucci so much and such, but then where do you even draw the line? It's like, does, like, Luffy pulled out Bajirang gun against Kaido, right? What makes him stop, you know, what makes him stop goofing around and suddenly try, like, a serious attack? Is it when he feels the form's about to run out? I don't know. In that case, it becomes really hard to scale Gear 5th, because it's like, okay, if he only tries at the very end, that's interesting. JWP, thanks for the 10. Oh, no, we covered this. Yeah. The stupid Luffy logic is annoying, I agree. Talha, thanks a lot. Give me 5 good TV shows. Live action One Piece spoiled me. It was good. 5 good TV shows. I can tell you 5 shows that I like, but I don't know if you would like them. I don't know if you would like... Okay, I feel like most everyone likes Breaking Bad that I know. I feel like most people like Black Mirror if you like, you know, short stories that have got some cool twists and some sci-fi stuff. I haven't watched a ton of live action TV shows as of late. I think the popular ones nowadays, Stranger Things, The Boys, those are the big ones. People say Breaking Bad sequel or prequel, Better Call Saul, is really good. Check that out. I've liked what I've seen of The Sopranos. I like Mad Men, but that's not for everybody. If you like mysteries, I'd suggest watching Poirot. The old Poirot, not whatever the fuck Kenneth Branagh shit is. Yusuf, thanks a lot. Do we get the full God Valley flashback here? That is a great question. I want to hear from you guys. Do we get the full God Valley flashback here? Do we get the full... Yeah, okay, that's wrong. Sophia V says, I don't like Breaking Bad, to be honest. There are people that don't like Breaking Bad. That's true. I think... Correction is, I think everybody who gets into Breaking Bad tends to really like it. And that might sound obvious, but I would say that like a lot of people watch all of Stranger Things or The Boys or whatever, and they're not like, oh, those are my favorite shows. But I think most people who get into Breaking Bad decently, you know, a few seasons in, like once you're into the show, then you really like the show. I think it's a show that you kind of can pick up whether you're going to enjoy it or not pretty soon. I really hope we get the full God Valley flashback, just because it would feel almost, I don't know. I feel like this is one of those that Oda really doesn't have to split it up. Like, it might be more, it might be more effective storytelling-wise to really flesh it out from various angles, see it through Kuma's eyes first, then maybe through Garp's eyes or Roger's eyes or something. But I feel like this is one of those where delivering on it now would just feel so powerful. The full thing. If you could deliver out the full thing right now, I think that'd be really, really powerful. I think it's a case where even if it might be a little bit better to split it up to get things from different perspectives, if Oda can deliver the whole thing now, I think it'd be great if he did, just because this is one of those where it feels like just the injection of life and excitement that will give the full story if we get the full information right now is too much to pass up, I think. Like, Egghead Island already so good. I don't know. I'm sure whatever reasons Oda might have for keeping it apart would make sense if we saw it. Like, you know, the Dressrosa flashback, I think the fact that it was ultimately split up into 3 parts, I think is overall better for the story. I would say that it is ultimately split into 3 flashbacks that aren't... I think it had to be split up into 3 parts because you just can't switch perspectives from, like, Rebecca to Kiros to Riku like that and have things really coherently make sense. But I would say at the end of the day that I think that the 3 flashbacks we got in Dressrosa, Rebecca's, Riku's, and Kiros's, while all solid, and I think they each get better. I think Riku's is better than Rebecca's, and then Kiros is better than either of the prior ones. While they're all really solid, I think none of them, for me personally, ever felt like they were the best flashbacks among the best flashbacks in the series, in my opinion. They're all good though. So I think God Valley, I hope it doesn't go that route again either, where I think just taking something that could be really, really amazing and then piecing it up a bit too much can ruin just the power of telling it all at once. But, you know, there's a line there somewhere. So slight majority say yes, but at the same time, I feel like a lot of us, including myself, are biased to just wanting that. So I'd say it's more of like a 50-50 split. Kiros was good. I do think the Kiros flashback was very sad. Funnily enough, it was the third... Like, Dressrosa had a lot of... You know what? Part of it is also that Dressrosa just had the Senior Pink and Law flashback, which topped the Riku family flashbacks even. So, you know, there's that to consider as well. Aliato5, thanks for the 5. What are the chances that Kizaru gets back up and Luffy 1v2s both him and Saturn? I feel like that'd be too much. And then you follow up with, it feels like that'd be too much, but Kizaru's still there. Again, I like to think that maybe we get something like Luffy and the Straw Hats or Luffy and Zoro versus Saturn. And then maybe Zoro versus Kizaru or something on the side. Who knows? Maybe we get Kizaru betraying Saturn. There's a lot of possibilities. Alright, catching up here. Tomahawk PWPT, thanks for the 5. That being said, Kizaru is really just trying to avoid fighting at this point, and Saturn getting punched in the dome is the perfect and Saturn, he's trying to avoid fighting at this point, and Saturn getting punched in the dome is the perfect goof card. Yeah, I would agree. Like, I would definitely agree that it's very possible that Kizaru might be playing up his injuries here. I definitely think that's possible. But I think we need more to kind of confirm that that's the case. Because a lot of people are saying, no, it's obvious that Kizaru's throwing it to to not kill Vegapunk, but at the same time, you can't. The point is right now it's supposed to be ambiguous as well, because we get to this point. Kizaru is acting as though he's about to kill Vegapunk. Kizaru doesn't know that Luffy's about to come out here. Kizaru doesn't know. This is him taking him by surprise. So at this moment in time, we really have. It's supposed to be ambiguous as to whether or not Kizaru is actually going to kill Vegapunk. We don't know yet. And keeping that in mind, even if you say that it is definite that Kizaru is not trying to kill Vegapunk, the reality is that this moment, which by the way Viz translated incorrectly, the correct translation is "this isn't good," which has been confirmed by plenty of sources, right? This moment, this is just factual, right? Kizaru's not talking to anybody, he's not trolling anybody, he's not faking anybody. This is his internal monologue. If internally he's getting fucking punched through the dome and he's saying, "this isn't good," exclamation, 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 which is what the actual translation is, that means he literally, like, there's no way to spin that, right? He's not thinking, "oh boy, now I can fake being unconscious so I don't have to attack Vegapunk." It means Kizaru literally is saying, this is not good. Him getting hit like that, it's a hard hit. It's having a significant effect on him, right? It's fucking him up. There's no way to headcanon some outside secret intent for him right there. No matter how you spin it, Luffy's attack right here was severely damaging for Kizaru from his own mouth, right? From his own brain, right? Inside his fucking brain, he explained that to us, right? The question is it so bad that afterwards he couldn't get up if he wanted to? That's open to interpretation, and that's something I think we'll find out later on in the arc. So that's fair. So to say that Kizaru is definitely one-shotted or whatever, it's not even technically one-shotted because the fight went on for some time, but technically taken out by one landed hit. That is probably unfair to proclaim just yet, but it's still, no matter how you spin it, a single Advanced Conqueror's Haki attack from Luffy connecting on Kizaru is severe damage from Kizaru's own mouth. Talha says most live-action TV are not very fun. Live-action OP was rare, to be honest. And that's a huge reason why I think that the live-action One Piece was such a breath of fresh air and why it was so popular. Because it was... Okay, so I got opinions from lots of people, but my dad and my sister stood out particularly. And my sister, for whatever reason, she said she had read the first 100 chapters of One Piece once before, but she didn't really vibe with it. Like, I got her to read it, but she didn't really like it that much. She liked the live action, but she specifically was like, I don't like the emotional parts that much. I don't like the serious parts that much. I just like the fun pirate. Like, I just want it to be a fun pirate's adventure. I thought that was interesting, because I do think that One Piece live action really does stand out in that sense that all of the other TV series that are popular these days, right? They're supposed to be darker and more serious, right? They're not just lighthearted pirates adventures. Like, One Piece obviously gets serious, but the tone overall of the One Piece live action was very, comic-y, cartoony, light, with moments of seriousness. And even if you don't vibe with those moments of seriousness, like my sister said she didn't, you can enjoy the show as just a fun adventure series. And I do agree that that's really lacking nowadays, right? Everything has to be pretty dark tone or pretty, have certain level of gravity or heaviness to it. Sleeping, like, every show that I recommended is a more serious show, because there's just not anything equivalent to One Piece live action. So I hope we get more of that in the future. Sleeping Danger, thanks a lot. Best non-stride flashback. My opinion, best non-stride flashback. I think maybe Laws would be the best. I understand that most people are most affected by Laws. If I were to say personally what I like best non-stride flashback, it would probably be the Skypiea flashback, or maybe the Fisher Tiger Otahime flashback. Send your pink honorable mention. Gunther, thanks for the 10. I basically agree with you, but if I had to defend Luffy after the throw, he thought Kizaru was the biggest threat, and when he found out about Saturn, he put Kizaru down right away. even then, I'm like, did Luffy put down Kizaru right away because of Saturn? Or is that an assumption? Let's take a look. Like, does Luffy even notice Saturn? Yeah, he does. What am I talking about? I'm completely wrong on that. Luffy does notice Saturn right away. I totally forgot that that was a huge deal. So that's my bad. And you're right that that is a good reason. That as soon as Luffy realizes Saturn's around, that's when Luffy ends the fight. Yeah, that's a very fair point. So maybe Luffy. I do agree that that you could argue that Luffy felt like he could mess around with Kizaru for a lot longer. The, yeah, that I think that that is a fair argument. I do think that's a fair argument. So if you feel like the explanation is basically Luffy will mess around with Gear 5th for as much as he feels like he has leeway to mess around with Gear 5th in, even if he could end a fight earlier. I mean, we did see that with Lucci, obviously. I think that's a fair argument. So, you know what? In that case, I think that this feels right, that like the timing of it and everything like that. But then at the same time, I feel like it's still ultimately contrived to get us to this situation because Luffy always chooses to use Gear 5th rather than get serious and like just finish off an opponent early with an easier move. And I also don't like the fact that in that case, why did Luffy use Snake Man first? Because it seems like his goal is winning rather than having fun with Gear 5th. But if we go with the train of like, okay, Luffy's goal is winning. As soon as he uses Gear 5th, then Gear 5th's personality takes over. Let's say that. Gear 5th's personality takes over, and now Luffy wants to have more fun. And so he doesn't focus on winning right away, even if he should, because he's trying to have more fun there. But then ultimately, if he feels like things have gotten to a certain point, aka bigger threat shows up, then even in Gear 5th, Luffy will get serious and finish off his opponent. If we go with that train, then, you know what? Cool. That's fine. If we go with the train that, like, look, once he goes Gear 5th, personality takes over, he's just having fun, he can finish off his opponent earlier, he just doesn't. If he does sense a greater threat or something like that, then he cuts the fun out and tries to end the fight. I could see all that. So, you know what? In the wake of that line of reasoning, I will say that this situation, in my opinion, is not as contrived as I made it out to be originally. I do think that more could be done to kind of address, just in general, how much of it is Gear 5th versus how much of it is just like Luffy's natural, like Luffy just fucking around for no reason. But, you know, we can say that it's more so Gear 5th because what zones are supposed to, like, they affect the personality more, awakened zones affect the personality more. At the same time, I wonder if it'll ever become a plot point that Gear 5th Luffy messing around this much. I mean, that's the same thing that Zoro warned him not to do at the beginning of the New World. Is that something supposed to be something that Luffy's ever supposed to learn from? Or does it just come with being part of, you know, part of the pros and cons of Luffy's ability? Like, you mess around, that's just naturally part of what it is. So, I don't know. But I do like that explanation. And I'll acknowledge that I probably went too hard on the other direction of it just being stupid in the first place. So, it was stupid, but there's a reason for it being stupid, so it's okay. Leo Recto, thanks for the 2. Predict for Young oh, you're trying to keep it short. Prediction for Young Dragon's personality: rough, serious, goofy. I feel like I don't know. I don't know if Young Dragon will be goofy, but I wouldn't be surprised if Young Dragon's not as like rebellious as he later turns out to be. I wouldn't be surprised if he needs to have his eyes open in some way. Oh, what's going on here? Holy shit. Marco ST, thanks for gifting 10 memberships. Holy shit. John D. Mango, say thank you. Jack D. Slime, say thank you. Joseph S, say thank you. The Slith Ice, say thank you. Chris Morales, say thank you. Costanza Francisca Perez Reboledo, say thank you. OG3, say thank you. Case Masebo, say thank you. Ricky Nguyen, say thank you. I know that last name too. I just don't know how to pronounce it still. Rutoga, say thanks. Everybody say thanks. Appreciate it, Marco Saint. Appreciate it. Wait, what are we talking about now? Translations? Microsoft Paint Untouched? What? We're talking about a certain page? What are we talking about? Okay, I don't know. Everyone say thanks to them. All right, say thanks to Marco. So, where were we? After me basically coming to terms with thinking that this isn't as dumb as I initially believed it to be. And, I probably went too hard, and willing to acknowledge that there. Beyond that, trying to get back on track, I saw some people saying, why don't you like the Law flashback as much? Why not Odin? I already said, I think I made very clearly. I don't think it's Law hate to say that I think it's probably the best non-Straw Hat flashback, but I don't personally vibe with it that much. The reason being, I can tell you the reason for Law and the reason for Odin. I don't have them as my favorite non-Straw Hat flashbacks. The Law flashback, I've said this before and I explained it in a podcast, but I think Pirate King podcast, the last one or something, if you want to check that out. But in short here, I'll just keep it very brief. My three favorite Straw Hat flashbacks were Nami, then Chopper, then Robin. I felt that they all took a similar core concept and then expanded on it. Like Chopper's felt like an evolution of what Nami's was, and then Robin's felt like an evolution of what Chopper's was. For me, with the Law flashback, it's hard to explain, but if I had read the Law flashback before, if that was the first flashback in One Piece that we got, the first one that I read, before Nami's, Chopper's, Robin's, I would probably have the Law flashback is my favorite flashback, or the saddest flashback. But because we'd already had some very similar flashbacks, like several similar flashbacks, with very similar beats, very similar setups, etc. Once we got to the Law flashback, it felt as though it kind of just felt like same old at that point a little bit, because you're hitting the same beats over and over at that point, where sad kid meets endearing parental figure dies in some way. That's very sad, right? It's something that we've just seen multiple times in One Piece at that point. So while I'm reading that flashback and it's very sad, obviously, like you can tell, it's just something that, like, it's a formula that had played out so many times before for me already at this point that I didn't feel like the Law flashback innovated on Oda's flashback formula as much, or like it did anything that new to me. So it didn't hit me in the same way. Like, I look at the Nami flashback and I'm like, that's really sad. Then I look at the Chopper flashback and I'm like, it has all the elements of the Nami flashback, but then it has even more tragic elements scaled in and added into it. I look at Robin's flashback and I'm like, well, this is just the saddest shit. Like, this is like a million tragic things. It's similar to the past two, but just with even more ideas thrown in there, even more ways to twist and turn and add more tragedy. I get to the Law flashback and I feel like, yeah, this feels like, I feel like I've seen this stuff before at this point. I feel like I've seen most of this in like the context of Robin or Chopper's flashback. Law's flashback is actually remarkably similar to Chopper's flashback, down to the type of person Corazon and Hero Look are, down to the doctor aspect, etc. They're remarkably similar. So that's not to knock the Law flashback. It's just the point in time that we got it for me. If we'd gotten the Law flashback first, and then maybe the Chopper flashback, then maybe I'd be saying the Law flashback I find much more heart-wrenching than the Chopper flashback. It's just, which one do you see first? And that one comes at a much later point in the story, and it doesn't do that much new to me. I think I made my point on it, basically. And, if it did for you, that's great. For me, it didn't, because I felt like a lot of the beats you could basically tell were coming. Like, you once you got like 2 chapters into the flashback, you pretty much knew exactly how the rest of it's going to play out. You didn't know exactly what the final scene was going to be, and the final scene was sad. But at the end of the day, I felt like Nami losing Bellamere, that felt more heart-wrenching to me. I felt like Robin's crescendo of using Clover, then Ovia, then Sol were more heart-wrenching to me. I felt like Hero Look's final words were more memorable than Corazon's death to me. So just across the board, I didn't feel like the finale of the Law flashback did that much more than what we'd seen before. So that's just me, right? That's just how it's emotionally affecting you. If the Law flashback felt more profound to you than the previous flashback, that's totally great. Odin flashback, I really like lots of aspects of the Odin flashback, but its main appeal was the lore drops, I would say, and Roger laughed, which I thought is really cool. but ultimately that's more so lore drop stuff. It's not as heart-wrenching to me as the Skypiea flashbacks or the Fishman Island flashbacks. That's just the way it is. I thought Oden's death was really good, but really just the chapter, the boiling moment, everything else about Oden's flashback, it goes through at like a breakneck. Like the entire rest of his flashback is a crazy fast montage, and people forget this, but like the entire dancing sequence of Oden, I don't know if you guys remember, but like when those chapters came out, like people were fucking rioting because it was like, what the fuck is this? This was like the most rushed sequence of 5 years of Oden dancing ever, because it's literally like, it's almost comical. He starts a chapter storming in saying, I'm mad at you, Orochi, and Orochi's like, you're mad at me, but I have hostages, so you have to dance for 5 years and then I'll let them go. And then Oden's like, okay, you promise? So then he dances for 5 years, and that like goes by in like a couple pages, and then the chapter ends with him being like, wait, you tricked me. All right, I'm mad at you. I'm gonna attack. Like, it's hard to explain, but it's like the chapter's a circle. He comes in, he's angry at Orochi for tricking him. He's like, you tricked me. I'm angry. I'm gonna attack you. Orochi's like, but what about this? Oden's like, okay, I'll dance. Done dancing. He's like, wait a second, you tricked me. I'm mad at you again. It's like a joke of a chapter, basically. That entire sequence. It's the funniest chapter in One Piece, arguably. So, Oden boiling that's a great scene, but the stuff before it is done in such a crazy rushed manner that I don't find Oden's full story that compelling. Outside of the first couple chapters, those were really well paced. But I don't find Oden's full story that compelling. Really, it's just the lore drops and the Roger stuff that was powerful. So I tend towards emotion more, and the Skypiea flashbacks and Fishman Island flashbacks were more peak in terms of emotion for me. No, it's actually, like, the Oden flashback is actually hilarious. Like, the, what is it? 970? No, 969. Like, it's actually really funny. It's, he comes in, he's, like, angry, you tricked me, this is the start of the flashback, what is this, blah, 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 you tricked me, blah, 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 blah. I'm really angry at you. You tricked me while I was gone. You tricked, like, for 5 years, you've been tricking me. And then Orochi's like, have I? Well, what about this? Now you have to dance. So then Oden dances for, like, a few years. And then, so that happens. So this is 5 straight years. And then he's like, what? You tricked me again? And now he's like, oh, well, now I'm angry again. All right. Well, the time has come to strike down Kaido. So this little segment is another 5 extra years of Oden just getting tricked. And then he's literally, it's a circle. It's the most absurd chapter I've ever read in One Piece. It's like, you could just cut out the middle, and it's the same exact thing, basically, right? And so now he's back to like, we gotta take him down, right? Same thing. Now, the concept was really good, because the concept of what happens is really tragic, right? Oden being tricked, making this sacrifice of his reputation, his dignity, etc., for 5 years for the sake of the Wano people, to protect them. That's great. I think the concept is really good. But the sense of tragedy doesn't hit. Instead, it's just kind of absurd. It feels a little absurd because of the manner and how, like, the manner in terms of how it's presented, which is crazy rushed. Like, you could read this chapter, and the first page of this chapter is pretty much identical to the way the chapter ends. It's like the same thing. So it's kind of like Oda was getting to the end of Oden's story, and he's like, wait, I gotta squeeze in the really dark tragedy of what Oden did to him. Like, he's like, okay, let me shove this in right here in the span of one chapter. Okay, now Oden's fighting Kaido. So it's more so just how fast it fucking went by, which it doesn't really make me, it's more like you're just reading and I'm skimming. I'm like, wait, what? So we're just back to here? All right. Fuck you, Orochi. That was bad. Anyway, moving on. Let me catch these, and then we're gonna start evaluating the who's showing up at God Valley. Okay. Raydel Ninja, thanks for the 5. Saw a theory that Luffy can't take things too seriously in Gear 5 because he's too free. Maybe that's why he didn't finish off Kizaru. Yeah, so we've discussed that. So at the moment, I'm gonna take that as like my personal, I'll just tell myself that anytime this stuff is happening, but like, I do hope it's addressed or discussed at some point in the story. I don't know. Nurgangi, thanks for the 2. Real question is, when is Manga Morj showing up? Manga Morj is a bit away. If he does return. It's hard to write like full ass scripts for Manga Morj though. I'm still on Wano. Judd Zoro-san, Bonney is Ginny's clone. We've been hearing that. I think that's possible. Still trying to figure out Connie, the Dowager Queen of Sorbet Kingdom. Titanium Dragon, Big Mom says she gave him the fruit at the end of 999. Yeah, I know she gave him the fruit, but was it to save his life? Because I think that's what you're saying earlier. I don't remember that. Just Jetty, thanks a lot. Hans Ding, thanks for the 5. That was not a simple Advanced Conqueror's Haki attack. It's way stronger than any Luffy attack on Kaido except Bajra Gun. Flame plus muscle expansion plus rubberization plus star. Yeah, I could buy that. I don't think Luffy's done a bunch of crazy attacks in Gear 5th yet. So that could very well be the second strongest. Again, my complaint was still simply just why not just do that here? Or why not just coat your arm with Advanced Conqueror's Haki and squeeze? Or like why not just slam your fist down on his head with Advanced Conqueror's Haki here, right? I get the attack strong, but can you just do it right here? Look at this. His arm is even. I know it's not actually coated. This is just shadow, but it looks like he could just. It's an example of what he could theoretically do, which is just take out his arm and hit him. Shinkai9, thanks for the 5. Oda already knew Luffy was far stronger than Kizaru, but didn't want Kizaru to look like trash since this is Luffy's first Admiral win, so he threw him. I could see that as well. I think at the same time, though, in defense of Admiral fans, right? Kizaru, to be fair, has not used his own awakening. So he's fighting someone using awakening, but he hasn't used his own awakening. So, that's something to take into account. Jack D. Slime, thanks for the 5. Luffy just testing out how much strength he needs against an Admiral. That's what the Gum Gum is all about. Trying, failing, and bouncing back. I guess, man. But, this is all stuff that it largely needs to be headcanoned. There's nothing from Luffy's... it's not like we're actually getting a line or any sort of sense of intent from Luffy that, okay... I'm not going to finish Kizaru off here because I want to test my strength or something. So ultimately that's, I don't like when we have to make up intentions for characters. Even if they seem like they could fit, you still need to actually have that written into the story to kind of have that suggested as actually being the case. Alito5, thanks for the 5. What are the chances? No, we covered this. Covered this. Hoops, thanks for the 10. It's interesting that Buccaneers are a race in One Piece when in real life it refers to Spanish pirates. Maybe Buccaneers were the first pirates. There's even a golden age of buccaneering. Yeah, someone was talking about that earlier in the stream. I think that with Buccaneers, the fact that they're the first race to be mentioning Nika, there is some and the fact that Joy Boy's hat is so big, I think at the very least I'll say that there's a possibility that Joy Boy was a Buccaneer. Just Jetty, thanks for the 2. Egghead incident equals Kuma memory shared with the world. I thought about that. I thought about that versus Punk records being destroyed. But either way, I like the idea of information just being leaked to the entire world. Tom, thanks for the 2. Maybe we see Toki and this was a time that she jumped to. Holy shit, that's an interesting idea. I like that one a lot. I like that one quite a bit. Sampat Sakesh Revolpathy, I'm going to throw that in. All right. So, okay. Hold on. Let's get this going at least a little bit, right? Who shows up at God Valley? We're going to do the confirmed characters in a second. But let's start with interesting possibilities. I'll make this, yeah, it can be black. No, it'll be make it blue, I guess. Okay, interesting possibilities. I think we had Fisher Tiger and Toki. Those are 2 outside the box possibilities that we had. We're also going to throw in Dragon, and Akainu, because they're on the thumbnail. Also on the thumbnail, it's not Stussy, it's Baki, and I hope that came through. Sampat Sakesh Revoltapati says, Who mentions Nika is a rumor he heard in prison and that ancient slaves prayed to Nika. He connects Nika to Sun Pirates as their former slaves. Oh, so I see the potential Fishman connection there. Interesting. John678, thanks for the 20. Don't know if you've talked about this yet. I've got a feeling Oda will try to subvert expectations with God Valley and have Rocks be the good guy. Garp and Roger were on the wrong side. Hence why Garp hates Celestial Dragons, and Roger went for the One Piece. See, I've heard people say that, but I don't know if we've gotten any... I think that that's possible. But at the same time, the key is that it's said that... I definitely think that's possible. But at the same time, it is said that... in order to protect the Celestial Dragons and their slaves at God Valley, that's what Garp and Roger fought against Rocks for. To protect Celestial Dragons and their slaves. And slaves is emphasized here. So to me, I think that was a greater... It seems as though that's a more important aspect of the story. So it kind of seems to me as though... If I'm speculating, right? If I'm speculating, we know that Rocks seems to be the inspiration for Blackbeard in some sense, right? Blackbeard has the correct idea in that, hey, the Celestial Dragons, the world government needs to be torn down. But Blackbeard's method is basically at all costs, right? If you look back at Marineford, he's like, I don't care what, like, fuck civilians, fuck whatever. Like, I don't care if everyone has to live in fear or whatever. I'm tearing down everything. I'm going to destroy everything. It's my era, yada, 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 right? And we can assume that Blackbeard has taken a lot of inspiration in his philosophies from Rocks, right? So it's the right idea that everything needs to be torn down, but it's the wrong sort of morality to go with it, where it's like we've seen, like, Blackbeard's conversation with Hannibal, etc. Blackbeard basically thinks that there is complexity to it, in that tearing down the established order is important, and, you know, if you got to break a few eggs to make an omelet, that's okay. And that's how Blackbeard's always been, right? He acknowledges that it's not cool that he killed Thatch, the fourth commander, but he's like, yeah, but I had to, because I need to get that fruit, right? So if we follow that line of thinking, to me, that's more so what it's likely Rocks will end up representing, which is Rocks probably shows up with the correct intent to take down the Celestial Dragons, but with the mentality of basically like, that's all I really care about, and I'm going to rampage through this island, causing chaos and putting at risk the slaves, right? Innocent people. And that's why ultimately Roger and Garp had to fight against Rocks, right? Because at the end of the day, innocent like the slaves were potentially going to die. This is all speculative, but I'm drawing what we see of Blackbeard in the modern day, and the type of actions that Blackbeard would take, which is that, yeah, he would take down the Celestial Dragons, but he wouldn't give a fuck if who happens to die in the process. And you can see that throughout his statements from Impel Down through Marineford, right? He doesn't care about what happens to the innocent people, doesn't give a fuck about all that. He's just like, we got to tear the world down, okay? And we know that Roger and Garp are ultimately good-hearted people, right? And finally, it's emphasized that slaves needed to be protected at God Valley from the Rocks pirates. Now, this might be propaganda, right? This might be propaganda, but the only reason I'm kind of leading toward, or like, this might be Sengoku's misunderstanding of the situation, but the only reason I'm leaning towards this still being correct, possibly, is just because I would assume that Rocks and Blackbeard's philosophies align, and that would, in my mind, I think, position Rocks as being very likely to have been a guy who, similar to Blackbeard, ends justify the means, and ultimately that's something that Roger had to stop, because Roger maybe found it more important to protect the slaves than see the Celestial Dragons killed there, right? If you're weighing the two options. Those are my only thoughts, but that's the only reason I'm leaning towards, yeah, Rocks probably wasn't just like secretly a really good guy, but I think it's definitely a possibility, and it would be a very interesting possibility. It's just that based on the Blackbeard connections and the similarities there that we've seen, and the emphasis on needing to protect slaves at God Valley, I think that ultimately it's possible that Rocks is what we thought he was, which is a bad dude at the end of the day. Irene Sharda Forever says Blackbeard even had his own slaves. Nikita27GG says the question is why Roger showed up there, because of the good sake. Yeah, Roger's involvement is like, there's so many pieces involved that I do understand why people find it very possible that not everybody or not all of God Valley is played out here. Just continuing here real quick. Dreams, thanks for the 5. He only went gear 5th to get back up from the bottom and get to the top fast enough to get through the defense system. Yeah. That's why he did why he went it initially, into that form initially. I don't know. Thanks for the 5. Along with Gear 5's personality, I think the fight is supposed to be fun because it's two monkeys playing. Kizaru equals Yellow Monkey, and obviously Monkey is Luffy. Yeah, no, that's the thing. The Kizaru fight, I don't know if you guys remember, but like I did the chapter review for the actual fight between Gear 5 and Kizaru, where like Kizaru's making the clones, Luffy's eating the light and stuff like that. I thought that was a great chapter. I thought that was a fun fight. I thought the fight was fun. I think it's more so just, if you're gonna have a fun fight, then have a fun fight. I don't like that having Luffy fight in that, you need to have Luffy fight in that self-sabotaging manner, seemingly for no reason, in order to create stakes, like in order to create a moment of tension and conflict that we have right now, where the crew is in a lot of trouble against Saturn, right? I feel like moments of tension and stakes, etc., they should feel organic to characters acting in a manner that makes sense, right? But if we want to go with the mentality that, like, look, Luffy's just going to fuck around in Gear 5th, no matter who he's up against, and that's just the way that he's going to be, then, you know, that's just, you know what, as long, if that's consistent and that just stays consistent for the rest of the story, then I can roll with it. And I'll drop that point of discussion. Yeah, so along these lines, right, we think that in God Valley definitely shows up is a long list of characters. And this is the tricky part, because it's like, how do you fit everybody? Because we know that Roger, Garp, really, all the fucking Garp. There's gonna be Baby Shanks. There's gonna be Rocks, Kaido, Big Mom. Forget, how do I make another column? Right, I guess I just gotta make another column. Make this a little bit bigger. Yeah, all these guys show up. Kaido, Big Mom, Shiki. We're gonna see Shiki again, guys, possibly. That's so wild. Shaki, Bakin. Oh, I wonder if this is where... Wait a second. Do you think that this is where Shaki and Rayleigh meet? You think this is where Shaki and Rayleigh meet? That'd be crazy. That'd be cute if we see Shaki and Rayleigh hitting it off in the midst of battle. So all these characters definitely show up, right? Fisher Tiger, Toki, Dragon, Akainu. I think these are the interesting possibilities. JWP, thanks for the 5. Doflamingo's flashback is my favorite. The moment when he uses Conquerors is one of the best moments in the series. Doflamingo's flashback. That's a good one. That is a good one. I think I've just forgot about it. Dressrosa had a lot of iconic flashbacks. Anime Kingdom MDM, thanks for the 2. I think Bonney might just mentally be a child. What does that mean, though? Because, like, I don't know what that means. Hamsterdam, thanks for the 10. Just got here, so sorry if you already said this. No worries, I appreciate it. How long do you think the Kuma / God Valley flashback is going to be? So, if this is going to be the full God Valley flashback, like showing everything, right? Not just Kuma's perspective, but everything. I feel like we got like 10 chapters. If this is just Kuma's story, I think it's like, I think it still hits like 5 chapters. 5, 6 chapters, something like that. Counting the one that we already got. But I hope that it's the full thing. I think I could see it going above 10 chapters, even if it's showing the whole thing, but that just seems pretty bold. I remember when Odin's flashback started, I thought that would go nearly 20 chapters, and I overestimated that pretty hard. I think it was maybe 10 total at the end. So if we imagine that Oda would probably want to keep it to 1 volume's length, right? Then even if he's showing the full flashback, maybe it's still only about 10. I know Jaggerwell, thanks for the 2. Justice will prevail / history is written by the winners. You're saying that with regards to God Valley? Yeah, so I guess they paint Rocks as the bad guy no matter what, yeah. Alithil5, thanks for the 5. The ancient kingdom was originally called the Pirate Kingdom. After the world government defeated them, the word pirate came to mean any criminal out on the sea. The Pirate Kingdom. That's an interesting idea. Because now you're tying back like the idea of Buccaneers, etc. Buccaneers being inherently meaning like a type of pirate. It's interesting. Damian Wright, thanks for the 5. Kizaru could literally have killed Usopp if he wanted to. That just makes Luffy look even worse. That's true. He could have killed Usopp if he wanted to. Error 9, thanks for the 5. Buccaneers could be a race with no homeland, so they became pirates. Oh, okay. So this is all kind of coming together. You think that ended up making the Ancient Kingdom? Also, Admiral Kong at God Valley. Oh, shit. Kong would be cool, but I don't think Kong shows up just because Garp is the main highlight. But that would be a great... Because we wanted to see Kong in action for so long. Is Kong Fleet Admiral at this point? It's probably Fleet Admiral. Did I not write Whitebeard? Holy shit. I didn't write fucking Whitebeard? I'm sorry, guys. I can't believe I didn't write Whitebeard. Can't believe I didn't put down the goat's name. Let's throw this poll out. Okay. Is Rox a bad guy? Onodragawal says, Morj, you missed my 13 months membership? What? What? No, I didn't. Hold on. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry, Onodragawal. You know I appreciate you. I'm sorry about that. Always sat weird with me that Whitebeard, Mr. Family, served under Rox. What if Rox was attacking Celestial Dragons attacking slaves, and Roger and Garp protecting both? Alright, let's break down that little triangle, or square as triangle, right? Okay. Rox was attacking Celestial Dragons were attacking slaves, and Roger and Garp were protecting both. But then why would they need to protect... But it sounds as though... Okay, the problem is we only have Sengoku's word to go off of right now, right? And Sengoku, he doesn't even know. It sounds like it wasn't even there. So... Celestial Dragons, right? Rox attacking... We know Celestial Dragons, they obviously do a lot of... Like, the whole point of them being here at God Valley is attacking the slaves, right? But, Rox attacking Celestial Dragons attacking slaves, Roger and Garp protecting both. But then why, in that case, why would Roger and Garp be protecting the Celestial Dragons? It only makes sense to me that they would be protecting the Celestial Dragons if they were also protecting the slaves, you know? Because it sounds as though they're protecting the slaves and the Celestial Dragons from Rox. If they're protecting the Celestial Dragons and the slaves, but do you think the Celestial Dragons are, like... It just wouldn't make sense to me that Roger would be stepping in to fight Rox specifically to stop him from attacking Celestial Dragons. It only makes sense to me if Roger has to step in to stop Rox from attacking Celestial Dragons and slaves. Because to me, the slaves is the thing that makes sense, right? It just wouldn't fit unless we totally misunderstand Roger's character. But there's just no reason to think that, like, why would Roger be... There's no pirate in the world that likes Celestial Dragons, as far as we've seen. Like, everybody knows what they are. All the supernovas at Sabaody were talking about how terrible they are, etc. Why would Roger be stepping in to save Celestial Dragons? To me, the slaves is important, which to me suggests that that the that the Rox pirate attack ultimately endangered slaves as well. But again, it's One Piece, so one of the key aspects of One Piece is, you know, the true history of certain events is much more surprising than what you might think. So I would not be surprised if we're being misled regarding Rox's character. I think it ultimately comes down to how much you trust Sengoku's word, right? I also hope that, you know, it still feels like Roger's character feels like the same Roger that we knew so far. And it doesn't turn out that, like... Because, like, Roger didn't... Like, Roger, ultimately, he knew that he had to rebel against the Celestial Dragons as well, but just didn't have time. I don't know. It's very interesting. It's very interesting. But I do agree that the more we see the evil of the Celestial Dragons, the more it's just like, man, like, this Rox guy, like, the fact that he tried to attack them, honestly, he can't be that bad of a guy if he's going after these fuckers. You know? I get that mentality. But I agree that with Whitebeard, Mr. Family serving under Rox, ultimately, I don't think that that's, like, a thing that Whitebeard was proud of, though. You know? Like, that could have just been a young Whitebeard just joining whatever crew he happened to join at that time. You know, strong pirates were gathering. He just joined, and it sounds like I think Sengoku even explains that most of the former members of the Rox Pirates don't like talking about that, so they just didn't like. Sounds like there wasn't a lot of buy-in in that crew anyway, you know? So I wouldn't think that Whitebeard was happy in that crew. It was just a place for him to be before he realized that he had to go form his own thing. I don't know. But this is, again, I think it's... Okay, let's start this. Is Rox a bad guy? Let's say yes, no. And I'm not giving you guys another option. You guys can't pick morally gray. You got to pick either yes or no. Let's also get the stream likes up to 500 real quick. Wang Ji Bogart was Bogart at God Valley. All right, let's write this. Who definitely doesn't show up? What color do I do for this? Let's say orange. There we go. All right. Yeah, I mean, okay, if we want to put all the Rox pirates, we can. What is it? Wang Ji. Who are the other ones? Silver Axe, Wang Ji. Wait a second. You know who we're going to get to see at God Valley? You know who we're going to get to see at God Valley? Oh my god, we're gonna get to see this guy in his prime. This is crazy. I'm actually crazy. I'm so excited for this. We're gonna get to see Captain John. We get to see Captain John. Holy shit. Watch Captain John's treasure be one of the treasure chests that he stole from God Valley. We're gonna get to see... Oh my god, we're gonna get to see Captain John. This is crazy. This is... I didn't even realize that this is one of the characters I wanted to see. Till I thought about it. Oh my god. Guys, get excited. Captain John. But if we're doing this, we might as well just list all of the fucking, like, crew members from this time, right? Like, I guess Scopper Gabon. Alright. Okay, so people still lean towards Rox being a bad guy. It's interesting that most of the polls that we've done in this stream have been very close. Like, this is a 65-35. The last two we did regarding Bonney were 60-40. I put Shiki. Don't we get to see Shiki? Why don't we get to see Shiki? A really young Marco? Like, how young? Shiki was on Rox's crew. Don't we get to see him? Prime John solos. Alright, let me keep catching up on supers. Alito 5, the Ancient Kingdom was originally called the Pirate Kingdom. Okay, we covered this one. We covered these. Swerve 14, thanks for the 5. I want Clovis / O'Hara connected or to a minimum or mentioned at the minimum to the God Valley incident. Need a reason as to why research into the Void Century even began. I mean, that would be cool if we saw it, but I don't personally need a reason, because I'm just like, we could, you know, part of it is that the joy of researching history is just the joy of researching history. You know? Beep says, Sir, Mr. Morj, you desperately need more posters to fill your background. The Shanks poster sitting alone looks so out of place. Also, just say X crew, etc. Yeah, I could just say X crew, but I want to specify because some of the characters are like, you know, people forget Shaki's gonna be there, you know? This background is getting overhauled if my guy shows up, right? It's getting overhauled this week. Literally this week. I've waited too fucking long to overhaul it. I've just kept putting it off because it's just a pain in the ass. But the background's getting overhauled, right? So don't even worry about the stuff in the back, because I know it looks bad, but it's getting overhauled. Don't worry about that. But I have a person showing up Friday, unless things have to change, to set up certain things. So it will look different by next Monday. So look forward to that. Why Shaki? Because Shaki was on, she was on the Rox Pirates. Bad Galdi says, sad Morj skipped both my supers. No, I didn't. Let me keep going. I'm not caught up yet. Don't worry. I'm still a few behind. Several behind. Marco Saint, thanks for the previous donations of the memberships. 3Ds in the God Valley incident. I'm guessing we'll meet 1 to 2 more during the flashback. 3Ds, Rox, Garp, Roger, right? 1 to 2 more. Yeah, I could definitely see that. Or at least some new information about D-Clan / Will of D. Yeah, because, I mean, Roger and Rox's interactions are what I'm really interested in. Because I think we'll understand a lot more about both their characters after that. Obviously, Rox we know nothing about, but Roger, I think, we've never seen Roger serious, you know what I mean? We've always seen Roger in the context of just him smiley, having fun. Even when he runs into Whitebeard, it's not like a serious confrontation. Him facing off Shiki, he's still just like smiling and being Roger. We've never seen him in a very serious confrontation. Like, who is this guy? You know, like, what's Roger like in, like, when he's speaking to an actual life or death enemy? You know, a fellow D tribe member. A lot of interesting potential for interactions there. Banana Cloud, thanks for the 2. What if Rox is like Buggy? Strong crew, weak captain. All I can say to that is I hope not. The possibility's there. I think Parvision tried to convince me of that. I was just like, maybe. But I would rather not. Pat Galley, thanks for 2. What up, Morj? I missed stream. Anything funny happen? Anything funny happen? Can anyone inform? I don't know if anything funny happened. I don't know. I like to think that every stream is somewhat funny. But I don't know if that's the same as something funny happening. Like, what would be something funny happening? Like, I don't know. Like, if I tripped and fell, that'd be funny. Nothing like that happened. Solomon Walter, thanks for the 10. Hey, Morj, first time super chatting. Thanks for doing it. Thank you. How do you think the Straw Hats would react if Luffy actually failed and died before becoming Pirate King? That is something that's, like, too difficult to properly imagine, because it kind of just, it breaks the story of One Piece, right? Because all these characters, they're built on, you know, their dynamics with Luffy, they're built on the idea that they have absolute faith in him and believe that he is sincerely the person that's going to become Pirate King. So, how would the Straw Hats react? I mean, just mass depression, basically. I think they would lose a lot of faith in each of their own dreams individually once they see that Luffy can't follow his, or can't achieve his, because they base a lot of their own belief in what Luffy was able to, how Luffy was able to inspire them, right? That he was the figure that was able to kind of get them in a place where they can start pursuing their own dreams again. I think Robin would go back to maybe killing herself. That's possible, like she was before Luffy. I think that a lot of I just think that there'd be mass depression all around. And I think a lot of them would lose faith in their own dreams, basically. I don't know how... like, some characters would fuck them up more than others. Like, Chopper, I think, would be a lot more fucked up than Brook, just because Chopper's a kid, and, like, Luffy means Luffy's his idol, absolute hero. You know, he's so impressionable. So Chopper, like, the first crew he joins, the captain that he follows, the person he believes in, seeing him die, like, I think that would fuck up Chopper completely. On the other hand, you know, Brook's been down this road before. I think he'd be alright. He'd be sad for a while, but, you know, he'd be okay. He'd find Laboon. He's just the second time this shit has happened to him. So, you know, I think there'd be a range of reactions, but I think everyone would be really fucking sad. I'll say that. Oh no, Joggerwell, thanks for the 2. Roger and Garp could have fought Rox because he's a different pirate. So just fought him because he's another pirate. I guess, but like a life or death battle, like where they wiped out the entire Rox crew. And again, like to protect, like you don't think that Roger, seeing that Rox is trying to fight the Celestial Dragon, like you think Roger would interfere with that? That would pretty much like make Roger evil, you know? If Roger sees that somebody's trying to fight the Celestial Dragons and Roger stops them, isn't that just evil? It would basically be like, you know, like when Luffy was stepping up to punch Charlos, right? If one of the other Supernova just jumped in front of Charlos and was like, you know, like Charlos shot Hachi, like Charlos shot Hachi, Luffy's pulling up to Charlos to beat his ass, and some other pirate jumped in front and was like, I'm gonna kick your ass, I'm not gonna let you fight the Celestial Dragon. Wouldn't that just make him a giant piece of shit? Most bootlicker pirate of all. Because I think it's been made fairly clear that even if you look at all the worst pirates in One Piece, like pirates who hurt civilians and stuff, like Crocodile, Kid, stuff like that. Like, even they make it fairly clear that they view the Celestial Dragons as the worst of the worst scum, like even more evil than any of them. Like you think we're bad, they're the real fucked up bad guys, right? So if Rox was heroically trying to fight these Celestial Dragons, and then Roger jumped in the way and just fought Rox and saved the Celestial Dragons, that would basically make Roger the biggest piece of shit in One Piece history, because there's no pirate we've ever met who's so fucked up that they would actually like fight to protect Celestial Dragons and let them keep doing what they're doing. Like, there's no pirate we've ever met who would, you know, like the only time that happened was Bonney stopping Zoro from attacking Celestial Dragon, but that's just make sure that like they don't all just die because an admiral shows up, right? It's not because Bonney liked the Celestial Dragons, but or like Bonney wanted to actually stop Zoro, right? Like, I'm sure Bonney, with the more we know about Bonney at this point, I'm sure she would have been happy to see Zoro cut down the Celestial Dragon, but she was just afraid of the consequences. Roger wouldn't have been afraid of the consequences, right? So if Roger, like if Rox was legitimately trying to attack the Celestial Dragons and Roger stopped Rox just straight up, that makes Roger the biggest piece of shit in the entire One Piece pirate history, right? If it was instead, Rox was attacking the Celestial Dragons, but Rox was being reckless and was seemingly going to wipe out their slaves as well, and therefore Roger had to step in to protect innocent lives, despite Rox's main goal being the Celestial Dragons, Roger stepping in to protect innocent lives. To me, that makes more sense and would still make Roger the good guy in that scenario, and would make Rox more of a Blackbeard type figure. You get what I'm saying? Pat Galley, thanks for the 5. Also, if you're looking to get into UFC, October 21st at 2 p.m. is what you need to watch. The Abu Dhabi fights are going to be sick. Tons of big names. What is this? What's happening? October 21st, UFC fight card. Let's see. Problem is I don't know a lot of it. I don't even know who Makachev versus Volkanovski is. These are Russian guys, I imagine. Who do I recognize? I don't recognize anyone here. What about that Francis? What's his name? UFC heavyweight Francis Ngannou. I can't pronounce his name. What about this guy? When does this guy fight? What about Khabib? When does he fight? These are the names that I know. Yeah, Roger the bootlegger for the bag. Pirate King title looking fraudulent. What are the two big fights I'm looking out for here on UFC? Someone said two big fights. Beep, thanks for the 10. Give your guy an extra tip. I'll see what I'll see if I can get some more posters right away. But initially it's just going to be replacing some stuff with some shelves and things like that. But we do need more posters for the back. I don't know, thanks for the 2. Maybe Saul or Man Marked by Flames was at God Valley. Man Marked by Flames we still need to figure out. I still hope it's not Dragon. I know Joggerwell, thanks for the 2. Rox's wait, Saul being at God Valley would be pretty insane. It would fit kind of the story we've seen. I'll throw Saul in there. I know Joggerwell says Rox's failure motivated Blackbeard's nefarious methods. Okay, so you think Rox tried to do it more nobly, then Blackbeard was basically like, fuck it, we're gonna do it at any cost. That's interesting. I would not be surprised if Rox turns out to be a more nuanced character than most of us are initially believed. Isaiah Davis, thanks for the 5. God Valley was a Rox territory. The Celestial Dragons invaded by coincidence. Rock claimed it because he liked the name. Ooh, I don't know if pirates did territories like that back then, because Rox did do Beehive Island, right? But that's way in the New World. Would he really have a territory out in the West Blue like that? I don't know. That's a funny idea. Marco Saint, thank you very much. No depression. Strats will go into hell and bring Luffy back. Maybe Brooks Delfruit comes into play. Maybe Zora's connection too. You know what? That is actually more likely what would happen in One Piece. So big props to that. I think in One Piece that'd be more likely. Beep, thanks for the 5. Also, Egghead Incident is Luffy teaming up with Kizaru and using Kizaru as a lightsaber versus Gorosei. It's canon. Source. MA. It would be cool if we that would actually be a really cool idea. I don't think that's gonna happen necessarily, but that would be a cool idea. Makachev versus Volkanovski was insane. Just watch that first round and you'll get why this is a big rematch. Okay. Is it like a title fight? Like, what's the belt that are they fighting for a belt, or is this just a fight? Okay, it's a bout. Lightweight. No. We got a lightweight title bout. Okay, so we got some title bouts and then some bouts. Man, I know nothing. I can tell what they are, I guess, just by the names, but... Okay, cool. Prelims. Makachev. Okay, so that's a lightweight. So that's the lightweight title bout. Then we've got a middleweight bout, another light heavyweight bout, middleweight bout, bantamweight bout. Okay, cool. Oh, Roger's egg. Jake Cash says we must see Roger's egg. Oh fuck, I forgot about that. Roger's egg, aka Luffy. Roger's egg. That is a great point. I wonder if we're gonna get that is a. I would not have thought about that. Getting to see the egg here. It's probably gonna be important. Sabian Rob, thanks for the 5. Morj, do you think seeing the ending of Roger versus Rocks will spoil some of the hype for Blackbeard versus Luffy? I don't think so. I think it could add to the hype because, like, if Blackbeard is the new and improved version of Rocks, right? I imagine by the end of the story, Blackbeard should be as strong or stronger than Rocks, right? And Luffy should be as strong or stronger than Roger. I think it could add to the hype. It's kind of like okay, because we're gonna be more careful about this now. Mild My Hero Academia spoilers for the next 20 seconds. Okay, it's kind of like you get to see All Might versus All for One, and then you know that that's a teaser for later down the line because at the end of the story, I assume I'm not really caught up, but I know the hand guy is the main villain at this point. I assume Deku versus the hand guy is gonna be even bigger than All Might versus All for One, right? And spoilers. So I think it's good to have that. Plus, I don't care. I just want to see it. I don't care if it. I'm just being greedy, right? I don't care if it hurts the hype for Luffy versus Blackbeard down the line. I just want to see Roger versus Rocks right now. I'm just being greedy. TY, thanks for the 5. Why did Roger come anyway? He isn't a hero. Did he know the people of God Valley? That is the big question, isn't it? Why did Roger show up there? Could it have just been, like one of those random coincidence fate things where Roger happens to roll up at that island and, because here's the thing. You could say, like, wouldn't that be weird? But is that any less weird than what Luffy and the Straw Hats have done for the entire fucking journey that they've been on? Which is, like, if you're reading it in a flashback perspective, it'd be like, wait, there was this huge rebellion in Dressrosa. Like, why did Luffy and his crew just happen to be there to help defeat Doflamingo on the day that, like, all of Dressrosa rebelled against Doflamingo? It's like, well, they're just the main characters. They just showed up at the right time. It's like Fishman Island. Like, oh, wait, why did this huge, like, hordy rebellion of the new Fishman pirates, like, wait, Luffy and the Straw Hats happen to show up right then? Like, isn't that random? It's like, no, it's just the way shit happens. Same with Skypiea, like the Great War for Heaven, that had been in the making for hundreds of years, rebellion against God, taking back the land for Shandia, etc. It's like, wait, why did the Pirate King's crew happen to, like, why were they part of that story? It's like, oh, they just fucking showed up. It's just the way that the timing goes. Same for everything in One Piece, right? Right? So on the one hand, you could be like, isn't it really just random and bizarre that Roger happened to be there at the right time? It's like, no, it's just, that's, if anything, that's, we've kind of rolled with that for past 1,100 chapters, right? If it's okay for Luffy, why can't Roger be allowed to do that? It's only in retrospect that you're like, oh man, there was this crazy incident and the fucking Pirate King's crew happened to show up there. And it's like, yeah, they did that at Dressrosa, at Drum Kingdom, at Skypiea, at Punk Hazard, at Dressrosa, all of these places, right? So it's like, why is it wrong if at God Valley it's like, oh yeah, there was this huge battle between the Celestial Dragons on this fated day versus the Rocks Pirates on this fated day, and of all people, the fucking Pirate King happened to be there and he just helped win the fight. I don't know. Yeah, so if you got a problem with that, then you got to have a problem with everything that Luffy's been doing so far. So I don't mind if Roger showed up for no damn reason. at all. Multi2 Terminator, thanks for the 5. Do you think that Homing, Doflamingo's dad, will show up in the God Valley flashback? Oh shit, let's throw him in there. And maybe a young version of Mjosgård. I'm sad Mjosgård's dead. He had some of the best character development in all of One Piece. Homing, that'd be cool. We see maybe that, fun possibilities. It's just like, what if Homing sees some stuff there at God Valley that makes him realize he doesn't want to be a Celestial Dragon anymore? Leads to some consequences down the line. This was prior, right? Timing wise, it would have been prior to Homing making his decision, right? I think. Who else? Is Mjosgård? I'm just gonna throw in Mjosgård. Don't know how old he is. Jake Cash says we must see Roger's egg on God. Yeah, we covered this. A's 96, thanks for the 5. Makes me wonder the level of hockey, overall, presence, and authority Rocks had to command so many big shots. Keep in mind, like, Kaido and Whitebeard weren't in their primes just yet, but still, like, they still have the same personality types that they probably do today, so, yeah, it would have been a big deal for Rocks to command so many of them. Alongside going up against Roger and Garp. Yeah, I'm thinking Rocks is probably set to be one of the most impressive characters we've ever met or will meet. I already put Bogard. We got him right over here. Pat Galley, thanks for the 10. Sorry, no more UFC talk after this, but Islam is Khabib's prodigy. Okay. Volk is trying to become a double champ by taking this belt. Oh, like double champ as in 2 divisions? Is that right? They fought once and it was a split decision win for Islam. Okay, so there's a lot of history going on here. That's interesting. I like that he's someone's prodigy, like Islam's Khabib's prodigy too, because 1, he fucking looks similar, just at the photo I'm seeing, and 2, it's like, characters train each other in like a series. I know real life is not like anime, right? But sometimes it's funny to think about it like that. Ray Achia, thanks for the 2. What if Rocks is shown to have the Yami Yami no Mi fruit? I will try and tune into this UFC. I'll try and take a look. Because I do want to see. But the problem is you got to pay for this shit, right? Are there illegal streams that I could find? Kind of like I do with the NBA? Let's see if I can do that. Ray Chia, thanks for the 2. What if Rocks is shown to have the Yami Yami no Mi? I think a lot of us are thinking that Rocks would probably have... Like, we think it's a good chance. Just because, that might be why Blackbeard pursued it. Rocks having the Yami Yami no Mi, I think that kind of just... I think that there's a good shot that that's the case. Pat Galley, thanks for the 2. I like the idea God Valley was Rocks' territory, but it's in the West Blue. It's in the West Blue, man. It's like so far out of the way. Also, wouldn't they have done a bit of homework at the very least, like the Celestial Dragons? Because Rocks was, he's a very, very known figure at this point, right? He's a world-known figure, He's the most notorious pirate in the world, and the Rocks pirates in general are basically the biggest terrorist organization that's terrorizing the world. So, to say that it would kind of be like the world government, the Celestial Dragons being like, oh, we'll have our hunting competition in Wano during Kaido's rule, not knowing that it's ruled by Kaido. You know what I mean? I just don't think that that's super likely. But maybe. You never know. Sampat Sakesha Volpathy, thanks a lot. Could God Valley have any important poneglyphs? Fuck. Should we throw in poneglyphs if we're putting in objects? Because we put the egg, but the egg's not just an object, right? It's an egg. So it has some form of life in it. Okay, I'm not gonna start putting objects, but poneglyphs. In theory, it shouldn't have any important poneglyphs because God Valley is supposed to just be a random island, right? But maybe it does have some important history, and that's why they named it God Valley in the first place. So maybe it does have some poneglyphs. You know what's funny? I used to think that the Three-Eyed Tribe was from God Valley. But now it doesn't seem likely because God Valley is just a random island. So that really raises the question, does anyone have any good ideas? Where did the Three-Eyed Tribe come from? Young Katakuri? Why young Katakuri? Oh, because you think, yeah, I guess is Katakuri born at this point? Right? Katakuri age. He would be born. He's like 48, right? I guess young Katakuri. Fuck, this is crazy. If we see baby Katakuri. man. The potential here is nuts. Clover, Nico Olvias is multi-2 Terminator because it's in the West Blue. What age? I think Clover is a shot. I'll say Clover is a shot. I don't know about Olvia. But why not? We're saying interesting possibilities, right? Olvia? Olvia would be young, right? Anyone have any ideas about the Three-Eyed Tribe? No, right? Ryuma cut the God Valley Mountain in two, says Leonardo Martins. Oh, let's get the stream likes up to 600 real quick. Let's get it up to 600. Jack D. Slime, thanks for the 5. All rewards at God Valley are devil fruits, which is why Rox wanted to go. Roger went to stop some of them from getting fruits. But I don't know about that one. Like, would Roger really care? Would he really be that determined to stop Rox from getting some devil fruits? Like, why? You know? I don't know. I don't know about that. Like, that determined to stop Rox. He's like, oh no, if Rox gets what fruit? Like the Guru no Mi? Like, Whitebeard literally had the Guru no Mi, and he was still equal to Roger. You know? Like, Roger is still equal to him, you know? I just don't know if devil fruits are that significant of a incentive in the thing is, like, even if there was an ancient weapon at stake, because I feel like Roger's personality is somewhat similar to Luffy, so it's just, you know, usually they aren't concerned with what other pirates are doing. They're kind of just like, yeah, we're gonna do our own thing. And that's pretty much it. Like, you know, I don't know if Roger's going around with this sense of responsibility that I have to monitor other pirates and make sure that Rox isn't getting his hands on this or that. I don't know. Zamdi Al, thank you for the 20, man. What do you think about Kong or other members of the Gorosei? Also, how old do you think the Straw Hat is? Okay, so with Kong, I used to think that there was potential for, because at the time of Marineford, I felt like there was no clear big boss at the world government, you know? Because we just didn't know enough at that point in time. Like, most people at that point in time didn't think that the Gorosei are, you know, the strongest characters, stronger than all the admirals or anything like that. Sengoku was technically in charge of the Marines. Garp seemed like he was maybe the strongest, but maybe not anymore. Akainu seemed like he was maybe the strongest admiral right now. Kong was technically the full boss of the Marines, even above Sengoku. It was just hazy. It didn't seem clear as to who's like the big boss of the Marines. Like, who's the big boss on the world government side, because it was just a lot of characters seemingly with different, you know, titles, levels of experience, feats, portrayal, stuff like that. So Kong, I kind of, at one point in time, I thought that maybe he's going to be really significant at some point. Maybe Kong's going to be a big deal because he's like the guy behind Sengoku. But the way that Oda depicted Kong, it just didn't ultimately feel like he was making Kong feel like a really big deal. It was just the guy that's technically one rank ahead of Sengoku. So in that sense, if I'm looking at it right now, I don't feel like Kong needs to be a big deal in the grand scheme of things. But I think it'd be cool in that it could just be like another fight that we get to see during flashback, or it could be a random fight for a character in the modern day. Someone gets to defeat Kong. Probably not a big fight or anything like that, but just he's another character that the world government has on its side that should technically be roughly admiral level that people often forget about. You know, it's kind of funny that, you know, we're like, okay, who are the strongest Marines? We've got Akainu, Kizaru, Fujitora, Green Bull, and it's easy to forget, but there is just another fifth, probably admiral-ish level character, depending on how much he's declined, just sitting back there, Kong, you know? It's kind of funny to think about. I think Kong is probably the most forgotten strong character in the story. Like, character that should be admiral-ish level or above. He's probably the most forgotten. Like, even I forget about him. Paperwork guy, yeah. Udit Patel says, tell me what's going on out there. Yeah, that's basically Kong. But I mean, that's basically Akainu at this point too. As for other members of the Gorosei, I do feel at this point that they're just the final squad that's going to be Imu's subordinates, so we can look forward to significant fights for, characters like Zoro, Dragon, etc. against them. And I think that the Gorosei in particular, I think that they're going to be, I think they're all probably going to be roughly comparable to Saturn. Some a bit, I think Saturn is probably second or third. I feel like maybe third might be the right level of strength for Saturn, but a lot of people at the beginning of the stream when I did a poll seemed to think that, I think 75% thought Saturn was one of the weakest Gorosei, which is interesting. How old do I think is the Stride? I think the Stride's probably I think Joy Boy was the first person to have the hat. So however old Joy Boy was, I think it was his hat, something like that. But then there's that giant ass hat that's being kept in Marijua that could have been to a Buccaneer or a Giant or something like that. So maybe this straw hat is a new straw hat, and Joy Boy's straw hat was a giant straw hat. It's hard to say. Christopher Marin, thanks for the 5. Fisher Tiger was around 25, I think. Maybe he was a slave here. Yeah, I think that's a solid possibility. I've got Fisher Tiger down. That was the first great possibility that was noted here. Another possibility would be because we don't know how Fisher Tiger would have escaped, right? The only two routes for escape for slaves that we've heard of are basically Fisher Tiger freeing people, right? And then before that, how was Fisher Tiger freed? It must have been the God Valley incident, right? Because we already know characters like Kuma, Ivankov were freed, so probably a lot of slaves were freed here. Another possibility would be his possible connection with the revolutionary / dragon. You think that... I don't know if Fisher Tiger was... I don't think Fisher Tiger was ever friends with or allied with the revolutionary / dragon, because such a big part of his whole deal was he was staunchly... as much as he knew that humans are... it is wrong to hate the humans, the beauty of his character was that even though he logically knew that, his heart could not bring him to come around to actually befriend or ally with or side with humans. So I think no matter what, at the end of the day, I can't imagine Fisher Tiger actually being friends with Ivankov or Dragon, or being allied with them or on the same side. I think that was a huge part of the Sun Pirates whole thing, which was that it's basically us against the world, right? We're fishmen, it's us against the world, right? It took a lot for him to even be open to seeing Koala in a certain light. So, and Koala is just this helpless kid, and he saw in Koala a kid that's also being treated like a slave, basically. So yeah, I don't think that Fisher Tiger would ever have been... I think it just takes away from his character a little bit if he was ever open to actually working with and allying with humans before that, because the whole point is that, he, despite understanding that he should be open to that, he couldn't bring himself to, rightfully and understandably so. And even with this kid that he took in and finally actually gained a bit of a bond with a human, he got punished for that bond, right? Thereby sort of justifying his preconceived notions about, you just can't trust these humans, basically. Tablature, thanks for the 5. Luffy, mom, God Valley, Celestial Dragon confirmed. Okay, let's throw in Luffy's mom. That is an interesting possibility. Luffy's mom, right? Luffy's mom. Celestial Dragon woman? Maybe. I do think the most interesting route for Luffy's mother would be a Celestial Dragon woman. I think that would be pretty cool. That'd be the most interesting to me. McDonald's, thank you for the 30, man. Maybe devil fruits are the bad power of the world and Haki is the good. Hence why Gorosei, Blackbeard, and maybe Rocks all focused on devil fruit powers, and Garp, Shanks' crew, and seemingly Roger's crew all using Haki. See, I mean, I could kind of understand that, except at the same time, devil fruit's the way Vegapunk... So there's a video... I'm not going to go too in-depth into this, because there's a video I've been wanting to make for some time regarding devil fruits and Haki. So on the one hand, you could look at it as basically devil fruits are something that you just eat and immediately get a crazy amount of power for, whereas Haki it's all intrinsic. It's all you, right? It's your spirit, your sense of ambition, your natural growth is what develops your haki, right? Your haki can only bloom in battle, things like that, right? Haki is really, it is the strength of your spirit, the strength, like it's all you. Whereas devil fruits are some, like, it's a power up that you eat, right? It's literally like a Mario game. You eat this power up, you get the power up, right? It's a route for lots of weak characters often to get strong even when they really shouldn't be, right? We've seen that plenty of times with plenty of characters in One Piece. You know, Caribou, NL, Blackbeard is cheating his way to the top, right? He doesn't try to fight people head on if he can avoid it, unless he knows that he's going to win. Like, he's the total opposite of characters like, you know, like Luffy. He tries to backstab, etc. And that's kind of represented in Blackbeard basically being so reliant on having multiple devil fruit powers, as opposed to, you know, the honorable figures like, you know, Garp, Roger, you know, those types, right? That being said, right, you know, Shanks, etc. That being said, I don't think it's so clear cut as devil fruits are just good and haki. Sorry, devil fruits are just bad and haki is good, because at the same time, Vegapunk explained that what devil fruits ultimately represent is dreams, right? Devil fruits are dreams, desire, right? There's a lot that I want to say on how these two ideas come together to tell a more complete message, but again, I'm saving that for a video. So all I can say here is that, you know, the fact that Luffy has a devil fruit, and the devil fruit clearly is the most defining aspect of who he is at this. Like, when you think of Luffy's powers, you probably think of Gear 5th Luffy first, or Rubber first, before you think of Haki, because Haki is something he developed more recently. And clearly there's like a sense of, like, Vegapunk really romanticizes the powers of devil fruits as he explains them, right? These are people's beliefs, their fates, their desires, their dreams, etc., manifested into an ability. So yes, it's something you can just eat, but the source of devil fruits comes from something that's very sacred in One Piece, which is dreams and desires. So while in the wrong hands, devil fruits can be really dangerous and give cheap power-ups to certain characters, at the same time, we see, like, I think we're really supposed to see the way that Luffy uses the Nika fruit, for example, and understand that there is something really, like, beautiful and magical about him being able to harness the power of dreams to be able to overcome all sorts of evil forces, liberate people, you know, the whole drill, yada yada yada. So I think it's a combination, and I think that there's a lot more nuance there. I do think that the one thing that is really, really disparaged in the story consistently is characters who primarily rely on their devil fruits without also being good at haki, and I think that that's emphasized at every turn. And ultimately, that's, I think, why there's such an emphasis on Conqueror's haki in particular, because that's something you cannot ever just acquire through some cheap means. That's something that's intrinsic to you, and that matters quite a bit, because it's like, I think the point is that you can get to the top with just your own will, right? But you can't do that with just devil fruits. Now, if you happen to have both, that's great. That's great. You've got both sides of the coin, but you can do it with just you and your own will if you've got one strong enough, like as we saw with Roger. I think with Luffy and having the fruit and having really strong haki, it's just something that will allow him to go even further beyond and, you know, take down Imu and all of that. But there is, you know, it's not just haki good, devil fruits bad. Both are portrayed very positively in certain contexts, and both represent different themes of the story in certain ways. But it is stressed that basically just devil fruit, that's not going to cut it in the grand scheme of things, because you need to have that spirit to back it up to really get to the top. Ryochia says, what if we see the 3 previous admirals? Holy shit, that would be cool. So you're thinking Sengoku, Zephyr. I don't think all the admirals showed up here, though, is the thing. But in theory, you'd basically be saying, like, Sengoku, Zephyr. I don't know if Sengoku was an admiral at this point. 40 years ago? That might be pushing it. So fuck it, let's just throw it down. We're throwing ideas, right? Previous admirals. It'd be cool if, like, an admiral or two gets defeated, and then Garp steps up, and it's clear Garp is, I don't know, because Garp's like an up-and-coming marine here at this point, and Garp is able to do what the admiral couldn't. Griffin, thanks for the 10. It'd be an interesting dynamic if Rox knew about the Dawn but wanted to rush it forward to liberate it himself and cause mass destruction of it, while Roger chose to wait for their successors. Yeah, I'm really, looking forward to the Roger-Rox dynamic, because they're going to differ in some key ways in their approach. Um, but at the same time, I wonder how much Rox is going to be like. Where is he going to fall on the spectrum of being similar to Blackbeard to being his own totally different sort of character with his own unique morality and his own unique, I guess, approach to things? Because there is a bit of a spectrum there. Like, he could have just been Blackbeard before Blackbeard, wanting to create the Dawn, but not really caring who gets hurt because of it, or just wanting, like, some level of power for himself and wanting to try and destroy the world, versus, like, maybe really nobly trying to rush the Dawn, but ultimately feeling like he just has to bear the brunt of certain casualties and innocent deaths, etc., for the greater good. Like, maybe, like, with Blackbeard, it feels almost more like ultimately it is more selfish than anything, because he's talking about, it's my era, I can do anything I want. He does want to take down the Celestial Dragons, but at the same time, he wants to still, like, he doesn't really care about how much it benefits other people, more so just he feels like he wants to do that. Whereas Rox, like, maybe it is a really, really noble goal, and he's just of the mentality that, like, yeah, we're going to have to lose some innocent lives in the name of achieving some greater goal. I think that would be really interesting to see Roger ultimately have to stand against that, and how that contrasts with what Roger felt was the right way to do things. Bed Tundi, weird name, but thanks for joining. Appreciate it. Do I gotta put a Baby Marco? I just don't think, like, Baby Marco is, like, is he just following Whitebeard around at this point? I don't know. I'm not gonna put Marco. Griffin, thanks for the 10. It'd be an interesting dynamic if Rox knew about. Oh no, we just covered this. It was a good question though. Good point. JPrez P, thanks for the 5. Small News Morgans will be there. I'm hoping for Samurais too. Dude, I'm done with. I don't need to see any more Samurais for a while. We saw 150 fucking chapters of Samurais. Small News Morgans. Let's throw in Small News Morgans. That'd be funny. Scholar H says this may be the best year ever to be a One Piece fan. Honestly, like, what? I'm trying to think. They're really, no. It's got to be this year, right? Because what's happening right now? Okay, if we look at everything that's happening right now, without question, right? In the manga, this is what many feel to be is the best post time skip arc so far, right? So that's happening in the manga. We're currently getting what many feel to be is the most anticipated flashback or lore reveal in all of One Piece right now. It's just started, along with many lore reveals that we've been waiting on for decades. They're all finally happening right now, right? So that's the manga, right? Potentially the best time skip arc happening right now, with potentially the best flashback and most significant lore reveals and most anticipated lore reveals ever happening right now. So that's the manga. Then 2, the anime. As much as I've personally disparaged the anime, the reality is that it's all relative for anime viewers, right, who have gotten used to Dressrosa, Whole Cake Island, that level of general animation, which is bad pacing plus limited to no good animation, right? For a lot of people in the anime, regular anime fans are getting to enjoy some extremely high quality highlight clips, right? The likes of which they probably never believed that they would see, right? So for anime fans, this is probably the best time to be an anime fan since, like, pre-time skip, when the anime was well paced or something like that, right? So manga fans, this is the best time to be a One Piece fan in decades and decades. Anime fans, this is the best time to be a One Piece fan in decades and decades. Then on top of that, the One Piece live action, which kind of just makes it the best time to be, best time to wear your One Piece fandom on your sleeve, because this is the first time that everybody kind of knows, like, the broader populace kind of knows what One Piece is, and most people like it. Like, most people really think it's cool at this point. Most people know what it is. They enjoy it. They've heard the reputation of One Piece is through the roof right now, which means you can now finally talk One Piece to people you never, like, maybe friends, family, whoever, that you never thought you'd be able to talk One Piece with, and just enjoy the fact that the series is known, and what you love and feel so passionately about is something that now at least can be understood and recognized by other people, even if they're nowhere near the breadth of immersion that you're at with the series, So yeah, I would say this is the best time to be a One Piece fan that I could think of in the series' history. we got a few more supers, and I'm probably gonna have to call the stream soon after this. Zamdial, thanks for the 2. Gecko Moria was from West Blue. Could he be there? The thing is with Gecko Moria, like, I was kind of waiting to see if he would have any level of significance in the Wano flashback, and he had like a panel. So I'm like, is Oda really gonna go so far as to involve him here as well? He's a like, at the end of the day, you could technically throw anybody who was alive at this point in time into the possibilities category. Like, you could throw Mihawk, you could throw whoever. But I'm kind of rolling with characters that I feel like have a bit more of a solid reason. Kind of got to draw a line somewhere. So Gecko Moria being from West Blue, he could be there. I think we need something a bit more than that before I'm going to say yes. Bit more than that. Jolly D. Joestar, thanks for the 2. Garp's wife is a celestial dragon. She dies here. You think Garp's wife is a celestial dragon? That'd be crazy. Garp's wife is a celestial dragon? Man, he needs to... should have picked better. Unless maybe she's a good celestial dragon. Who knows? They are not technically all bad. Jake Cash, thanks for the 5. Thanks for the last few years of entertainment. Oh, yeah, for sure, man. Wish I could be around more. Oh, no worries. To be a complete pain, what's the progress on Wano analysis? Also, Egg. No progress on Wano analysis in, like, a month. Or maybe not a month exactly, but maybe a little bit less than a month since I last told you guys. Just because of time. But I'm still trying to get it done before... It will probably take a big push, but I think it's possible that I can get it done before the Wano anime closes. But... again, it would take a big push. So, I don't know. But that was my goal initially. The problem is that it's too long. So it's kind of like every time I open it up to look at it, I'm like, it's too long. And I'm like, I need to commit like a clear few days to work just on that. But I never get a window for those few days. Because it's too big of a chunk at this point to just like jump in and do like a bit of final editing on it. Or like turn it into a final draft or whatever. It's like too long, so it has to be one big thing. It's over, Wano bro. No, it's not over. It's not over. It's not over. The Wano analysis will definitely happen. That is a guarantee. But it's like, I guess I'm like this dude at this point, in a much more minor, much less significant way. But it's similar, right? I'm basically this dude. But I'm not him promising the 7th book. I'm him promising the 6th book, all right? Keep that in mind, because the 7th book is never going to happen. But the 6th book, that's where I'm at. I'm like him, but with the 6th. That's basically it. All right. Which I know is not satisfying to hear, but it is definitely going to, like, I'm definitely going to finish it, for sure. It's 1 over. No, it's not. It's not 1 over. A's 96. Thanks for the 10. A young Fujitora and Green Bull could be there. This could make the... Oh, fuck. I would love if... Okay, I'm not going to put Green... I think Fujitora is a cool choice, though. This could be the event that makes Fujitora blind himself while Green Bull develops his extreme sixth sense of justice. Fujitora... I'm going to throw Fujitora in. I really don't know about Green Bull, though. Because Fujitora, there's like a reason. Because he saw something that was so bad that made him blind himself. The thing with Fujitora, though, is that, you know, what's crazy is that for such a long time, I felt like Fujitora is going to end up being from Wano. Just because he's got the aesthetic, right? He looks like a fucking samurai. He walks around with samurai sandals and, you know, his samurai sword type thing and wooden sheath and all that. And he said that he had seen some atrocities that made him shut his eyes, right? So this was all before the Wano arc. Now, everything that we'd heard about Wano before we headed in was that some crazy bad stuff had happened there. So it just seemed like it all could have fit that Fujitora was from Wano. He saw some bad stuff because Wano went through a long period of tragedy. And he eventually had to leave the country and chose to become a Marine to help pursue justice in the end, right? But ultimately Fujitora is not, just as far as we know, he's just some dude. I do hope that we get to learn a bit more about his past, but I would not be surprised if it's not that important at the end of the day. And it's just important that he's a good guy. I don't know. All right, everybody. Oh, we are going to see Crocus. Right, we do see Crocus. All right, everybody. We are going to call the stream here. Wade Turner says, NBA question, who wins Rookie of the Year? I do think Wembanyama will. I think that there's also, I think it's one of those things. There's also, when a rookie is hyped up quite a bit, there's also a tiny bit of a extra PR campaign boost for their performance for the year, because just more eyes will be on them. Applesauce says, what do you think about the yellow monkey, blue bird, red dog, white dragon theory? Yeah, so dragon having been a former admiral or something. I definitely think that's possible. I just think that it's one of those where it creates a bit of a plot inconsistency or some weird plot stuff where one of the first things that was talked about with Dragon is that like nobody knows anything about him or like his past or anything like that, and it's all just mysterious, which wouldn't make sense if he was an admiral, because the admirals are some of the most famous figures in the world. Like, they're the most prominent Marines out there, right? So it just wouldn't make as much sense if it's like, oh, it would be like if Admiral Akainu, like, you know, Admiral Aokiji quit, right? But his name is still well known and feared throughout the world, like Admiral, like Kuzan, etc., right? So it'd be like if Akainu quit the Marines and then this revolutionary figure called Red Dog just popped up, and everyone's like, yeah, we have no idea who the fuck, where this guy came from or what his past is or anything. It's like, no, you know, like, it's fucking Admiral Akainu over there. You know what I mean? So that's the reason I think it would be a little weird if Dragon's a former admiral, just because it's a very prominent Marine position to be in. Doug says Crocus was only the last few years of Roger's journey, though. Good point. Getting rid of Crocus. I don't think it would have made sense for... I don't know if Crocus is surviving God Valley, no offense. Alright, guys. I think I'm just about to call stream. I'm looking if there's any other question. Nathan Head says, why was Roger there? Was it his territory? I want it to make sense. No, I talked about this earlier in the stream, which is like, it doesn't have to, because like Luffy and the Straw Hats always show up at islands where big shit's going down for no reason other than, you know, it's just fate. They happen to be adventuring and they come across an island, you know? Again, it's like, we don't question why the Straw Hats happen to show up at Dressrosa when the big rebellion's happening, or why the Straw Hats happen to show up at Skypiea when their big war is happening, or why the Straw Hats happen to show Drum Kingdom when that shit's happening, right? Like, they just do this all the time. So if you can roll with all that, why can't you roll with like, oh yeah, the big battle between Rocks and the Celestial Dragons was happening, and Roger happened to roll up on that day. I think that's fine. Banjian says, is Morj Canadian? No. Why would you think that? What's the reason for that? Terror says, list of arguments for and against Bonney being a kid, maybe next. No, we're just not going to touch that. We will find out when we find out. A more fun stream idea that I want to do at some point, but it would require a week where, like, I don't want to do this stream on a week where we're more interested in talking about, you know, the flashback stuff, but I would like to do a stream about, like, trying to solve the Katarina Devon mystery. Yeah, just trying to solve the Katarina Devon mystery, because we could really go through all of the chapters since we returned to Egghead and just track, like, who's acting suspicious, who doesn't make sense, because it'd be fun if we could just, like, go through it as a chat, and just try and, just try and Sherlock Holmes it, basically. Hercule Poirot it, whatever you want to say. But, yeah, I don't think now would be a great time for that. Alright, guys. We are going to... we're going to call it here. Yeah, we're going to call it here. This was a really fun stream. Even if... I actually did not expect all of these possibilities. I was kind of just like, Dragon, Akainu... I don't know who else is going to show up, but a lot of these were... people I did not like. Fisher Tiger, as soon as that was mentioned, I was like, okay, yeah, there's probably a lot of people I'm not thinking of. So, fun stream. Got to talk about a lot of random stuff. And yeah, break week this week, but I will talk to you guys later. Thanks for tuning in.